Boom goes the dynamite.
Let's do our actual sponsors first.
Yeah, for sure.
Driving that culture.
Our self-sponsors.
Driving that culture.
Hey.
You know what? Well, and since we're doing this anyway, at some point, we can get to where we actually record spots for them.
Cool.
Driving that
More
culture.
polished.
I'm happy for that.
Driving that culture. Driving that culture.
Also, I'm going to start working on some more shirts.
Driving that culture. Driving that culture. Driving that culture.
I love that theme song, buddy.
That's good.
And welcome to another edition of Dropping That Culture with JD and AJ. I am JD.
I'm AJ.
And we are here in another beautiful week in the 2020. Is that what they call it now?
I'm just calling it the 20.
The 2020.
No, just the 20. It's an innovation I've come up with.
I don't give a fuck. 2020. But yeah, like I said, we're back in the 2020. Here with another show for you guys, and like I said, we're always happy to be here. This is always our favorite part of the week.
And we're in beautiful California, where
we are obviously in beautiful California. You can hear the LAPD helicopter ahead of us.
You know what? They're doing work on something. So
or someone, more accurately.
Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But folks, let's go ahead and drop right into this thing. We got some sponsors here, some homegrown sponsors for the show. Mm-hmm. First, I'd like to start out with Belserverse. Go on to Facebook, go onto the Belserverse page. You can also go to the Belserverse group, also on Facebook, and you can also check out the Belserverse Instagram. And again, Belserverse.com is in the works, and also working on a Belserverse Twitter. But you also get yourself some merch right now at the Belserverse store at teespring.com. That is teespring.com. We have a promotion right now. You get 20% off all apparel. Get you some nice shirts. Get you some nice Belserverse swag. We've had a couple pictures right now of people that have been wearing the Belserverse swag, and I think you guys will enjoy it. I'm also going to be working on a couple new shirts coming into the new year. I actually have a couple ideas right now. Probably going to be working on those very soon, but go to teespring.com. Get yourself some Belserverse merch. And again, visit Belserverse at both Facebook and Instagram.
I've seen some of these samples you're working on. This is going to be great. I think people are going to really like this.
You're damn right they are.
I'm just waiting to see what makes the cut.
You said cut.
I mean, we are an entertainment show, so might as well.
Yeah, but in the black community, cut is a whole other thing.
Yeah, well, that's it too.
In that cut.
So we also have U.S. Hookers, a great sponsor here. If you like hookers, if you like the U.S., if you like U.S. hookers, then go to ushooker.com. We actually have great hoodies, T-shirts, and we've actually got a couple of coffee mugs, some hats, all that stuff on sale. Everybody who was watching last week, you're either crying or you're on top of the world because you saw your team make it for the Super Bowl. But here's the thing. Super Bowl is going to happen, and then what are you going to watch? You can watch rugby. That's what you're going to watch because rugby is going to be a hell of a lot better than. Sorry, I mean, I like baseball too, but it's like going from boxing to MMA. You're going to love it. We got great videos on there. We got great information. If you want to learn the sport, it'll take you literally all of about half an afternoon, and then next thing you know, you're going to be all about rugby. So go to ushooker.com, check it out, learn about this awesome sport, which is finally kicking off in America.
That's what's up, bro. Like, who was the fucking Super Bowl halftime show? I ain't even thought about that. Like, I think it's like J-Lo or somebody like that.
I'd be lying if I said I knew.
There you go.
You know who it should be?
Who?
In living color.
It should be a living color. They've done it before. They can do it again.
They should do it again. In fact, if they were going to get together, it should just be for a Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, that'd be great, man. Just like one big special.
Yep, just one big special.
They do it for the all in the family type shit. Might as well do it for a living color.
For sure.
I think it'd be dope. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our first segment of the show. 7 Degrees of Eddie Murphy, where I can connect any major American film star to the great Eddie Murphy within 7 films. Again, it's a variation of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but I like this one better. Now, AJ, you got a couple names for me this week.
Oh, of course I do. Sigourney Weaver. Yeah.
That's too easy.
Okay.
Sigourney Weaver was in Ghostbusters with Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd was in Trading Places with Eddie Murphy.
I guess that was a little too easy.
It is extremely easy.
I was just watching.
You've seen Ghostbusters.
I was just watching Alien.
Yeah.
So that's why I was in my head. But fine, mock me. Do what you will.
Like when I watch Alien, I think Yaphet Kotto.
All right. I can't remember. Did we do Robert Downey Jr.?
No, I don't think we have.
That's still going to be a pretty easy one.
It's extremely easy. They're in a movie together.
Which one are they in together?
Bowfinger.
Oh shit, that's right.
They're in a movie together. Yeah.
They just don't ever. Do they even have a scene together?
Yeah. No. Well, Eddie and him don't have a scene together.
Yeah, that's why
it's mostly Eddie and it's mostly like I think Robert scenes with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's that. So come on, give me another one.
Oh man, this is just really Gene Hackman.
Hackman. From South Park, remember?
Yeah.
Hackman. Okay, Gene Hackman. Good one. I think good. Got it. Okay, so Gene Hackman, the great Gene Hackman, was in... Oh, this is too easy. Gene Hackman was in Superman with Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve was in Superman 3 with Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was in Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy.
Don Rickles.
Oh, that's an even better one. All right, Don Rickles
Mr.
was in... Oh, no. Don Rickles was in Casino with Robert De Niro. De Niro was in Showtime with Eddie Murphy.
Just doing a rapid fire one here with me.
Hey, I'm cool. I'm with it. Let's go.
Kate Hudson.
Bastard. I'll get it. No, I'm gonna get it.
Nah,
No. I got it.
Okay.
Okay, fucker. Kate Hudson was in How to Lose a Guy in. I have a better one. Kate Hudson was in Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey was in Tropic Thunder with Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller was in Tower Heights with Eddie Murphy.
Jennifer Garner.
Fuck you.
I'm just trying to think of some of the whitest actresses.
Yeah, for real, you really are. Okay, Jennifer. Oh, yes, I got it. Jennifer Garner was in Daredevil with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck was in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with Chris Rock. Chris Rock was in Boomerang with Eddie Murphy. Bitch.
All right, that was a good rapid fire.
Okay,
I'll go with that.
All right, cool. All right, so we got that segment down, motherfucker. Let's go ahead and get to our next segment. What would Busey say when we do an improv rant on the ramblings of the great Gary Busey? Now, what would Busey say about whatever subject today, AJ?
Well, I feel like because I spent so much time with, and as everyone's going to find out in a minute here, we're getting into Mr. Willis, Bruce Willis's career. Mm-hmm. But because of the amount of time we're going to spend on one of those films, I'm kind of curious what Busey would say about New York.
Okay. New York City. The Big Apple. I got VD there once. That was great. I think it was in the Red Hook district of Brooklyn. That was great. That was a great night. Also, I'm going to be honest with you, man. All of my memories of New York are quite violent. I remember one particular time I was in the middle of Central Park. And I was they had this giant meeting of all the gangs in New York. And then all of a sudden something happened and one of the gang leaders got killed. And I got blamed for it. And I had to get back to my clique down in Coney Island with the rest of my buddies. Wait a minute. As I'm saying it out loud, it sounds exactly like the plot of The Warriors. Which is cool. Because it actually happened. But we made it all the way to Coney. Had us some dogs. Had a really good time. I think we might have hit a prostitute or two. But yeah, good times, man. Also called me a goddamn New York sewer rat, authentic one. It's crazy, man. Like we ate it, and I kept his tail for years as like a souvenir. And then after that, I trumped my teeth into the biggest piece of New York pizza I've ever seen in my life. The thing's big as your head, man. Big as your head. Just one slice. Big as your fucking head. I'm telling you, man. And then I got another prostitute. And I scored about 6 pounds of crank from this one Indonesian fella. I don't know what the hell he's doing in the middle of Times Square, but he was there. And I had one hell of a crazy night in this porno theater right across from goddamn that big ass that fucking Pan Am building. Is that what they call it? No, it wasn't Pan Am. It was actually fucking Empire State Building. Yeah, that was a great night. Oh yeah, by the way, fuck the NYPD, Tiger Blood.
I really wanted to know if you actually sued for the filmmakers ripping off your story.
No.
No lawsuit. You're like, it needed to be told.
No, the story needed to be told.
Good Lord.
Okay. All right, story needed to be told. That's a great line. I'm good.
I was gonna push it even further, and I was gonna ask about if you ran into any chuds, but I think
that's gonna stick with me, man.
the story needed to be told.
Hey, man, no, the story needed to be told.
All right, well, with that, maybe we should bring up. We've got a new sponsor here tonight.
Yes, we do,
and they're actually sponsoring the news.
That's right.
So let's jump into that real quick, and then we'll jump in with the news.
That's what's up.
Hello, this is Byron Kripke, owner and head mortician of Kripke's Funeral Home and Discount Crematorium. We now have 3 chapels for you to choose from: Christian, Viking, and the all-new Viva Las Vegas, complete with its very own Elvis impersonator. For those of you seeking traditional packages, we offer classic and sunny side up. The bodies look so good, you're gonna want to check for a pulse. For those looking for a no fuss, no muss option, we offer discount cremations, complete with a wide assortment of urns. From our classic, to our Oriental mystery, to the latest Batman line, a great option for our younger clients. Unfortunately, due to ongoing content licensing issues with the Walt Disney Company, we do not offer anything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this time. The next time you're in the market for funerary services, remember Kripke's Funeral Home and Discount Cremation. You do the dying, and we'll do the frying. Proud sponsors of Dropping That Culture with JD and AJ.
Dropping that news.
All right, so my first talking point for the news this week.
Well, wait, hold on a second. That was an amazing sponsor, wasn't it?
Yes, that was. Yes, that was an amazing.
Into the news.
No. Since you brought it up, yes, that was an amazing sponsor. AJ, fucking. Okay, so into the news. All right, so this past week they finally aired the conclusion to Crisis on Infinite Earths. It ended off really well. Now, one of the problems that the CW shows have had in the past few years is that the fact they all had like disjointed realities. But now, as a resolution of this particular storyline, they're all together. So they're basically, you'll see a lot of them intersecting in other shows more often now. And you know what I'm saying? I think the one that's going to be the odd man out would be Black Lightning, because in fact, all the other shows film in Vancouver, Black Lightning films in Atlanta.
Yeah, and that can be a bit of an issue. Although, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter as much. If anything, you're going to see less crossover into Black Lightning, because that's one actor.
That's true.
You just fly him up to Vancouver and you're good to go. You got all your sets, you got everything.
That's cool. I'll give you that. Yeah. So, but one of the highlights of that whole particular storyline that ran over 5 parts, 5 hours, from this past December to this past week, was Brandon Routh's return as Superman.
Yep.
And pretty much the internet has been blowing up with it, dude. Fucking everybody loved it because of the fact he's older now, he's more mature, he's like a more...
It makes more sense.
He's a more experienced actor now, and we can tell he actually, that's a good Superman. Like, dude, he can do this. Like, back in the day, he was young, he just looked the part.
It was just too much too soon.
Exactly. But now he's older, he's more experienced, and he looks fantastic. He was fantastic as Superman. He was only in it for a scant amount, but I wanted more. In fact, all of the internet wanted more and more. And as of right now, there's been reports on several websites that because of the large response to Brandon Routh as Superman, that they're talking about possibly doing a Superman, like either series or miniseries, kind of wrapping up his version of Superman, which technically would be the Christopher Reeve version of Superman as well, since they follow the same continuity. So it would be either on the CW or HBO Max, one of those two. Because in fact, the HBO apparently is doing a lot of the DC shows too.
Well, yeah, and I think part of that comes from, Warner is using HBO Max as their streaming handle. So that's the direction it's all going. That's the way it's going to be. And you're going to see a lot. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think that's where Friends is going to land. Mm-hmm. So they're trying their best to make sure that they're a major player and they're not just banking entirely off the HBO library at this point.
Yeah, but like I said, I really enjoyed his performance in this whole crossover, and I would love to see it. I think it'd be really cool. As long as there's no fucking Kate Bosworth, I'm cool. Again, I'll maybe
Still hating on Kate.
she was awful, dude. I'm sorry. Like at least Brandon redeemed himself. She was just awful.
There's what was it? Oh, it was 21.
What about
Did you see that movie?
No.
It's 20. I think it was just called 21. It was the one with Kevin Spacey. It was about the kids that were ripping off Vegas.
Again, no.
They're going out playing. So it was based on a true story about these kids coming out from was it MIT or something, ripping off Vegas. She wasn't bad.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about now.
They were counting cards.
Yes, I remember that now. The MIT part, I think,
Yeah.
what got me. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. I think I might have seen it.
Well,
once.
the real story is way better than the movie, but I mean, whatever. It is what it is. But anyway, she did all right in that. Pretty sure that was her.
That's whatever. Yeah, Kate.
Still just hating.
Fucking Kate Bosworth, whatever. All right, so another big trailer that actually dropped yesterday. And it's getting a little bit of attention. Spencer Confidential. It's starring Mark Wahlberg, and it's on Netflix. Now, the reason I brought it up is because of the fact it actually has my favorite literary detective, Spencer, created by Robert B. Parker. I think I mentioned him on the podcast before.
Yes.
I've been a huge fan of the actual book series for years. I have basically all of the books, including the latest ones. Now, Robert B. Parker passed away a few years ago, and the estate of his family's estate has assigned these stories to an author named Ace Atkins, who's also from Alabama, who's been doing a fantastic job for the last few years on the book. It's like almost as if he never missed a beat. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the prose is very much the same, the storytelling is very much the same, and it still has the same like kind of to it. Now, one thing I love about Spencer, because of the fact I think it's because of the fact, despite the fact he's a white guy, he reminds me a lot of myself. Big dude, likes to work out, likes to cook, likes to read, my occasional whoop an ass or two, and also ex-military. So I'm a very, very relatable character, and I've always loved the 80s TV show Spencer for Hire with Robert Urich and Avery Brooks. And actually, funny enough, I was actually watching that before you came over.
Oh, yeah?
It's on IMDb TV.
Yeah, the IMDb free. Yeah, that's really cool.
It's on there for free. So it's like I said, I love that show. I love watching it again. But my thing is, from seeing the trailer, it looks like they're going in a different direction in terms of what they're going with the actual story.
Yeah, it has it starting out with him in prison whooping those guys' ass, right?
Yeah, and that is nothing from the books. He is never in prison for anything. He killed a lot of people, but he never went to prison. And the one part in the trailer, he talks about him being a cop. That is from the novels. And also, my one critique about it is, of the people that have played Spencer, there's been a couple actors, most notably Robert Urich in the 80s, and then there's a brief period in the 90s where Joe Montana played him.
Where's it set again?
It's set in Boston.
In Boston. Okay.
Yeah, completely in Boston. Spencer, the character, is an Irish American ex-cop turned private eye. And he pretty much most of it is all first person narration. It's him talking about the whole experience, and the whole character was created in the mold of like Philip Marlowe and the whole Raymond Chandler, those old school like pulp magazines and the private detective movies you see like in TV shows.
The old hard boiled thing.
Yeah. It's a cold winter night. You know what I'm saying? Like the Sox were losing, shit like that, that kind of thing.
Why'd you have to come into my joint?
Yeah, had to get me a bottle of scotch, that kind of shit. Yeah, but
it's basically like the more dramatic and realistic version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. But
just for the younger viewers that probably don't go back and watch the old stuff with us.
But my one critique of the trailer itself, just from seeing what it is, like I'm thinking it might be too action movie oriented, and that it might miss the whole one of the whole get downs of the whole Spencer line is that they're good mystery books. Yeah. Very good mystery books. Very good in terms of the investigation and all that good stuff. I'm thinking just him punching a bunch of people and shooting a bunch of people. That's okay, but like it kind of misses the point of the character.
You're not looking for another Punisher?
No, actually, this character is not the. He kills a lot of people, but he's not the Punisher. You feel me?
Yeah.
He's a very honorable guy and quotes a lot of poetry. I don't see Mark Wahlberg quoting poetry. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mark could do it.
Okay. Let's see Mark do some Wordsworth. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, he was a singer. He could do it.
Okay. And also, another critique is that he might be too short, because Spencer's always portrayed as a very large guy.
That's what apple boxers are for.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, Tom Cruise looks like he's like Yao Ming, but he's a little dude.
Yeah, and also they have Winston Duke, who's has been blowing up since Black Panther. He's also playing a character that I love, also from the books, Hawk. My thing with Winston Duke, seen in this trailer, he talks too much already. Hawk is always portrayed. Hawk is always portrayed as a very stoic man of few words. Almost like a mountain of a man, like a very unique individual, cool as a cucumber, like almost emotionless. You know what I'm saying? And I can see him like joking and laughing already. That's not Hawk. Like to this day, the best portrayal of Hawk is Avery Brooks in the '80s TV show. I'll give you that. Avery Brooks was scary as Hawk, and that's the kind of Hawk that you want: bald head, stylish, always carrying a big ass gun. Didn't laugh. Like when he laughed, he would do like ha ha, and be straight face and shit.
That's what he was doing, like the Black Diamond. I am smiling.
Basically, that's exactly what it is. Ha ha. Like nah, ha ha. That's why you do shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Spencer. Dig what it is, like you do shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Well, maybe he grows into it, but I'm hoping.
Well, look, it's this thing we always talk about with every first season, right? Doesn't matter what show it is.
I don't think it's a movie, I believe.
I thought they were doing it as a series. It's for a feature?
It's a feature.
Ah, shit. Well, then we might actually have a problem. Because what I was going to say, when it comes to series...
Yeah, there's a potential for growth.
There's always a potential for growth, because nothing's ever as good in the first season as it is in the second season, because by that time, everybody's found their feet, the actor knows what they're doing, everybody's kind of got a voice, the writers have understood it, but I get you, man.
From the looks of it...
That's actually worrisome.
Yeah, exactly. From the looks of it, it's probably... I think they try to go for Spencer at the beginning. That kind of thing. Shit. So, and Marky Mark's kind of old, to be honest with you, to do Spencer at the beginning, but that's just me. Either way, I'm hoping best for him because I'm really happy to see this character back in any live action format.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so got that out the way, and this one just dropped today. They just dropped the first image of Wyatt Russell, son of Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, as the new Captain America on the Disney Plus series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
What's the verdict?
It is what it is. Like freaking like no. I'm saying it like this because like the character he's playing is a character named John Walker, who's from the comics. A lot of people will know is a character named U.S. Agent. He's sort of like an alternate Captain America kind of thing. Now, the original storyline where that character was introduced, they had this, is like in the 80s too, they had this commission called the Commission of Superhuman Affairs, like this government watchdog group who was just created to like watch all the Earth superheroes. Now, one thing they did that I found to be really unique was they made Captain America pretty much a government title. Like if you're Captain America, you fall on this particular structure.
It's like being a Green Beret or something.
More or less, yeah. Like freaking, like you're almost a corporate symbol of the United States itself. You're meant to do this. You're meant to do that. You're meant to fall into these particular strictures. But Steve Rogers, being the free spirit that he is, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, well, if you're not going to do that, you're not going to be Captain America anymore. Keep in mind, he's been Captain America for 70 years at this point.
Yeah. And,
like, he is Captain America. Like, you can't just do this. We can. We're the United States government. We basically own that uniform and that shield. It belongs to us. So, Steve has to quit being Captain America. And in the interim, they go for different choices. At one point, they actually do bring up Sam Wilson, the Falcon. And this is the story point that I think they're going to bring up in the series. There actually is a line of text in the comic book that says America is not ready for a black Captain America. So it actually says it in the comic book, and funny enough, it's a black person saying it.
You know what's funny about it is it's literally the exact same thing that the English keep saying about James Bond. They're not ready for a black James Bond.
And also, which I found to be a good comparison, I saw it online too. A lot of people saying like if they go this route, it'll be very similar to Watchmen on HBO because it is a very
which it sounds like that's done.
Yeah.
Moving into the next piece of news.
Yeah. Apparently, the creator of that dude like decided to go. Like,
yep. And if he's gone, I don't know what it's gonna do.
Yeah, if he's gone, there's no series. There's no season 2.
It's gonna be.
And from what I'm hearing,
They
it's
can
great.
force it.
And from what I'm hearing, it's great. I've only watched a few episodes of it. It's pretty good. I got to get back to it, but like from what I saw, it was pretty good. So, but like it is very racially motivated. And going back to the Captain America thing, so like they bring in this other guy named John Walker, who is like this unhinged vigilante type. To be Captain America. The main reason they bring him in is because the fact they want somebody that'll follow orders. But yeah, he does that. He does that initially, but then he starts doing his own shit his own way.
And it's a problem.
It's violent and brutal, and not at all consistent with the image of Captain America. In terms of like, Captain America is supposed to be the symbol of justice and liberty in America, and like him like slicing the motherfucking half, even though it's in his own eyes is justified, but like him slicing the motherfucking half in front of children and shit like that. No,
That's a little too much.
No, Cap. No, we don't do that, Cap. No.
You take him behind the building before you do that.
And also, they brought up another good point because of the fact, storyline wise for the MCU, both Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan.
I just imagine Sam Jackson.
Shut up. But Sam Jackson is in them. But those two characters are both fugitives, according to the storyline. Now, Bucky is a fugitive from his years as the Winter Soldier, and Sam is also a fugitive from the events of Captain America Civil War. He is still a fugitive. So that might be another motivating factor as to why they don't want Sam Wilson as Captain America. Now, I know for a fact they don't want Bucky Barnes as Captain America. So they got this other motherfucker. He does what we say, wishy-washy, you know what I'm saying? Apple pie type motherfucker, but come find out he's nuts. And then I think the whole get down is they're gonna expose this guy in this group and get the title and get the shield back to who it belongs to, Sam Wilson. Okay. So I think that'd be a good way to go.
That's not a bad direction.
Not a bad direction because I really love that storyline. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think the biggest piece of news this past week, the SAG Awards.
Yes.
Went down this past Sunday, and a lot of big winners. A lot of them pretty much the same winners from the Golden Globes.
Look, it's important to have statues and statues.
And
there's a couple of guys that I've had the pleasure of knowing over the years, and that have actually made some pretty decent films and gotten a lot of accolades and stuff. And I've actually heard of at least one or two guys with Emmys and Oscars that keep them in their bathroom. Which, as funny as that sounds, it's actually quite awesome, because if you put too much stock in it and you get wrapped up in the award side, you're going to start making movies for the wrong people.
Yeah,
and those are the filmmakers that are the best, I think, because they keep focused on the fact it's the audience at the end of the day.
I've only worked with two people that have won Emmys, and they're happy about it, but at the same time they don't dwell on it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look, the way I always describe it, it's like, if and when stuff ever works out for us, we get some stuff made. I would be very much humbled and appreciated to win any award, even a Razzie. But at the end of the day, the only real award that matters is whether or not that box office turned out right, whether or not the subscribership turned out right, because that's how we get to make more.
Damn right.
That's the only metric you should put any stock in. Are people buying it?
Do people like it? Do the people want it?
If the people want it,
do the people want it?
You're winning.
Do the people want the song? Then the people get the song. All right, now let's go into the winners. Now, for outstanding casting of motion picture, Parasite. They won that. And also, all the actors that won for best leading whatever in a film are all the exact same actors from the Golden Globes. For best actor in the leading role, Joaquin Phoenix. Best actress, Renee Zellweger for Judy. Best supporting actor, Brad Pitt. Best supporting actress, Laura Dern. And again, all four of those actors all won the Golden Globes this year. So basically, you are looking at your four Oscar winners. I'm calling them right now.
I mean, you might as well, because SAG votes for the SAG Awards, and then they turn around and vote for the Academy Awards.
So you're looking at your four Oscar winners right
Most
there.
likely.
Yeah, so.
You don't usually get surprised when you see Golden Globe and SAG go that way.
Yeah.
You're only going to see surprise with the PGA Awards.
Exactly.
That's where the surprises are always hidden.
Yeah, but exactly. Those are your four Oscar winners, baby. I'm still going to act surprised. Oh my God, they won! But I know it's coming. Now, as far as television goes, best ensemble for a drama series goes to The Crown. I never watched the show, but I've heard a lot of things. Yeah, me too. Same thing. But yeah, there's a lot of big time people in it. Also, best ensemble for a comedy series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Miss Maisel or whatever.
I don't know that one.
It's on I think like Hulu, and it's like some weird like stand up comedy type deal or whatever. Again,
Stand up comedy. How have we not heard of it? Like that's totally up our alley.
I don't know. I've heard it's funny, but it's not funny. It's kind of one of those.
I don't know.
But it has a great cast. So like Alex Borstein, Jane Lynch, Kevin Pollak, Tony Shalhoub.
Oh yeah, actually, I remember hearing when Tony. Somebody was playing. What was it? There was something I was watching this morning. They were actually showing Tony's reaction when he won.
And the main chick, Rachel Brosnahan, I believe that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's like I've been hearing her name a lot lately because she's Mrs. Maisel, so Miss Maisel,
cool.
so good for her. Best outstanding actor in terms of like drama for television. Best outstanding actor for a drama series, Peter Dinklage, Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Best actress, Jennifer Aniston for The Morning Show. Another one of those like I think it's an Amazon show.
Yeah.
The Morning Show, okay. Best Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series, Tony Shalhoub. Best Outstanding Actress
I think that was actually the one they were showing his reaction for.
Yeah. Best Outstanding Actress in the Comedy Series, Chloe Waller-Bridge, the chick from Fleabag. That's another one of the shows
right.
Best Actor and Actress for a limited movie in a limited series or TV movie, Sam Rockwell and Michelle Williams for Fosse Verdine. Apparently they're both in that movie. Let's see here. And there's a couple ones for best stunt ensemble. One for film that went to Avengers Endgame, and one for television that went for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, as it should.
Yeah, so good for those people. SAG Awards, etc., etc.
Now, one last thing on the news side we should put up, and it's one of those things. There's no news essentially, but they're still in talks. Nobody's actually said for sure one way or another whether or not we're looking at a season 3 for Mindhunter at this point.
Oh yeah.
So part of the problem or the challenge is Netflix is trying to decide based on eyeballs what they're looking at in terms of what the cast wants and what makes financial sense. Mm-hmm. They're again set to spend a record amount of money on new content.
Yeah.
Which it's good news for you, good news for me. It means there's more work out there.
Good.
Yeah. So it's all good on the news roundup.
Did I tell you I auditioned for Mindhunter?
No. Oh yeah, you're looking to be the mayor of Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd have killed it.
Yeah, thank you. Who did he pick? I didn't see who they picked. Did you see who they picked?
Some guy, I think he was in a wig.
Oh, well.
It was pretty rough. They did a pretty decent job this season. They got away from what really made the first season great. They didn't spend that much time actually interviewing serial killers.
Okay.
But from what I hear, if they do come back with the third season, they're looking to get a little more back into that. They spent a decent amount of time on the Atlanta child murders. And Wayne, I can't remember his name. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the guy that they ended up, taken down for 2 murders that were lumped into that whole thing, but the people he killed weren't children, they were older. So they kind of leave you a little cliffhanger and pointing out that, like, hey, there's still technically, I think it's 28 cases or 27 cases that are officially cold cases that have never officially been closed.
Wow. Yeah.
So
we'll see how that works out, man.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this particular podcast. Now, last week we were pontificating about doing focusing on one particular genre, and we picked action, but overall we thought that kind of encompasses a lot of different like movies or whatever. So we decided to focus on one actor that is mainly known for that particular type of movie, action movies. So we narrowed it down to initially 3, but then it became 4 choices. So our choices were Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Wesley Snipes. Now, all those other people I would still love to do a show about anyway, but
absolutely.
The overwhelming winner for this particular round was Mr. Bruce Willis.
Brucey Bruce.
The Brucey Bruce.
Bruce.
Or like Key and Peele call him Bruce Willie. Well, I'm telling you about some Bruce Willie, man. Bruce Willie. So we're going to talk about Mr. Bruce Willis. We're going to have some facts about the man himself, and also going to talk about some of our favorite movies from him.
Now, to be fair,
yeah.
the way we did this so that people understand, you came up with a top 10, I came up with a top 10, and then where it intersected, that's what we did. So we didn't end up with another 7-hour podcast.
Exactly.
We could go and go and go, as people probably know by now.
Yeah, so we decided to narrow it down to 5 movies that was on both of our mutual lists.
Yep.
And those 5 movies are Pulp Fiction, Die Hard with a Vengeance, The Last Boy Scout, The Fifth Element, and Sin City.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the only one that didn't make it that I got to be honest, I'm still just a little bit bummed about, 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, actually, there's a little something about 12 Monkeys in here.
Okay.
But, yeah, and there's a couple other ones that, we have honorable mentions for my list. Unbreakable.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And freaking knows the other one. There's another one. Color of Night. I like that movie.
See, the reason I was saying 12 Monkeys, because out of all of them, it's the weirdest.
It is the weirdest
It's the weirdest. It's the biggest departure from everything he's done. It's even fucking insanely weird from Fifth Element, which is a weird movie in and of itself. We're going to get into that in a minute.
And a lot of people are like, why you don't pick Armageddon? I'm sorry, I'm not that crazy about that
wasn't
movie.
on our top 10.
I'm not crazy about that movie. I'll watch it. I like it, but
Do you cry?
No.
You don't cry when Bruce Willis dies to save the world?
I just love the fucking Aerosmith thing. I don't want to close my eyes. Don't want to fall asleep because I miss you, baby. And I don't want to miss a thing. We did it at karaoke one time. We fucking tore the house down.
I bet.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some facts about Mr. Bruce Willis. And also I thought it'd be cool for us to kind of, trade facts of Mr. Willis. So I'm going to start it off by saying pretty much like what type of characters he's most known for playing over most of his movies. Now, he frequently plays people that have suffered some sort of tragedy, have lost something, or have a crisis of confidence or conscience. He also plays a lot of likable, wisecracking heroes with a moral center. He often is in action adventures, usually playing a policeman, a hitman, or somebody in the military. He often plays a man caught up in situations that is far beyond his control. And he's also tends to play cynical anti-heroes with very unhappy personal lives. Yeah, he's always playing like somebody who's divorced or just got divorced or
about to get divorced.
on the verge of a divorce. But most notably, and especially in recent years, he's known for sardonic one-liners, his shaved head, his distinctive voice, which started out as kind of like a distinct like upper New York voice, but now it's kind of like gotten low, almost Clint Eastwoodish.
Yeah,
as he's gotten older, and his smirky ass grin. Yep. Mr. Bruce Willis, man. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start off the first fact of Mr. Willis.
This is the first fact? That sounded like a bunch of facts.
I just talked about like those kind of characters he's known for.
Well, as long as we're in that, the one thing I will say that I read John McTiernan was referencing specifically with when it came down to his portrayal of John McClane. Jeez, my brain.
Well, you forgot John McClane?
I started at 5 this morning.
I don't give a damn. You forgot John McClane?
Anyway,
all right.
Since John McTiernan's the only Irishman in a key position for the movie,
right.
He said the thing is, when it comes to John McClane and that particular character, he has an immense amount of arrogance, and the thing about arrogance is that it's often confused with bravery.
True.
And so that's one of the things you get to see with a lot of his characters. It kind of is a through line the whole way through.
Yeah, you tend to be very angry, yeah.
Well, because, he goes, and especially with the Die Hard movies, but a lot of the other ones, he's literally just to a point where he's saying, I'm probably going to die doing this, but I'll be damned if I let you go out thinking that I'm going to quit.
And also, for everybody who's wondering why we did not mention the one glaring omission here, Die Hard, because we already did it.
Yeah,
that was our Christmas show. We basically spent 3 hours
at least
talking about Die Hard. So if you want to,
that's why we're doing Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah, exactly.
We've moved on in the franchise.
Exactly. So if you want to hear all about about Die Hard, go back to our archives and look up our Christmas show, the one with 2 Johnsons. We did an entire episode just on Die Hard.
100%.
All right.
So let's go with your first factoid.
All right, my first Bruce Willis fact. You remember? Well, in the 80s, he started his side career, singing.
The accelerators, right?
Yeah, I'll get to that. But his recording of "Respect Yourself," which was I remember being in a lot of commercials and shit. It actually reached number 5 on the Billboard charts in January of '87.
Really?
It got number 5. So go ahead, Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce.
Plays a mean harmonica.
You see, and same thing. Another actor almost got to number 1. Eddie Murphy, Party All the Time. He got to number 2.
Party all the time. Party.
He said the only beat. Yeah, he said the only one that beat Eddie was Lionel Richie's "Say You, Say Me." All right, you go ahead and go with your fact.
All right, so Mr. Willis has he's never won an Oscar, but he's actually won a Golden Globe for Moonlighting in '87. Mm-hmm. He won People's Choice in '86 for Moonlighting, and again in 2000 for Sixth Sense.
Nice, very.
And then he actually in '87 he won an Emmy for Moonlighting, and then again in the year 2000 he came back, picked one up in Friends. For guest starring one. Those are primetime Emmys. So it's legit.
Yeah. And also, I love the Moonlighting theme. Like Aldero. Someone by night, someone by day, moonlighting strange.
Which is really where his career began.
And the blue and the gray. I just love Aldero, though.
I know.
All right, my next Bruce Willis fact. Empire Magazine ranked him number 22 of their 100 top movie stars of all time.
Yep.
So give that. Go with yours.
He's actually appeared in 113 movies to this point, and he's 64 years old now. So he's still got plenty of time left to get into 200.
That's right. He was born in a U.S. military base in Germany. His mother, Marlene, is German. And he was actually born in Kessel, Germany. His father, David Willis, was American. And he also has other ancestry that is including Dutch, French, Irish, and Welsh.
Yep.
So he's an eclectic guy.
Actually, from what I remember reading, he's not supposed to have any Irish in him.
That's supposed to, but apparently he does.
That's what they were saying, because it's the English. But it's hard to tell when it comes to English, Scottish, and Irish. And then,
he's a mix of a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So it's probably not the predominant shit, because obviously the predominant thing is that he's part German.
He's like 1,024th Irish or something.
Everybody's a little bit of something.
I guess.
Yeah.
So at 38, this is my factoid. At 38, he finally became a father.
Nice.
With Demi Moore.
Yes, he did.
So he actually had quite a long run by that point, doing whatever you do in Hollywood, I guess.
Yeah, right. And speaking of Miss Demi Moore, in 1996, he actually appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman to advertise her movie Striptease, which I'm a big fan of, by actually doing his own undressing act on the show.
Well, he's supporting his wife.
Yes, he did. Yeah. It's so weird, but I do love Striptease. For obvious reasons. I mean, it's a fantastic story.
You just watch for the articles?
I really watch for the articles.
It's all about the plot.
Two in particular.
Yeah.
Your fact?
Well, so I guess what I would say on the next one for him, one of the reasons why he has as many film credits as he does is because he actually takes a lot of small roles.
Yes, he does.
There's only one other actor who's really like that in a major way, and that's Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
So if you look between the two of them with their IMDb credits, there's a ton of stuff, and it's everything from guest spots to stuff that's far less from the normal leading man spot.
What about Walken?
I mean, Walken's never really been the leading man, though. He's always been a great character actor, so he's done a ton.
No, he's been a leading guy. He was the leading guy. Well, he was one of the lead guys in The Deer Hunter.
It's an ensemble cast.
I'm just saying. Look,
But what I'm saying is,
it was basically him and De Niro.
what I'm saying is, you go with a marquee name, right?
Yeah.
Like Willis.
Yeah.
How many other marquee names like Willis and like Ben Stiller can you think of that actually go out after their marquee names and pick up these little piddly roles? Like a key one for Ben Stiller, just as a jump over. If you ever saw Orange County, he's got that little, like, it was a half-a-day shoot where he's playing a fireman for 2 seconds, chasing Jack Black.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
All
just those little, and so that's part of why they expand out this role massively, or their film credits really, is because they keep doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And in that same vein, one of the other things that's really interesting with him is even though the ones you're talking about are the ones he's most identified with, he doesn't follow the standard formula that the majority of actors do, where they get into a vein of, this is what I am, like the action hero.
Yeah.
For the most part, they stick in just the action. He's all over the place.
True.
If you go chronologically, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he is all comedy, action, horror in some cases.
Yeah,
a lot of sci-fi.
He just jumps into, is it an interesting project?
I like that.
That's what makes him so great.
Yeah. Going back to Moonlighting, since we mentioned that, he actually said his personality, of all the characters he's played, is most like his character of David on Moonlighting, because especially when he was younger, he would always get into trouble because of that, he was always bodily ejected from parties for being obnoxious. Also, another fun fact: he's actually very vocal. His support in terms of his political affiliations. He's basically a Republican, and he's been supportive of all the Republican candidates except Bob Dole, because Bob Dole was real critical of Demi Moore in striptease, particularly. So
again, supporting his wife.
Damn right he did.
I saw an interview years ago with Meryl Streep, and she was talking about what a dreamboat Bruce Willis was, and then she goes, "If only he wasn't a Republican." That was like her end line is like, that's just the only thing that's not perfect with him.
Yeah, there you go, man.
So another factoid for him real quick.
Yeah.
He's been an accomplished musician. You mentioned slightly before about his band, The Accelerator, but there's famous moment in Moonlight with him playing the harmonica when he's sitting in the office. Mm-hmm. And that was an improv that occurred one day because he was waiting in between scenes for them to reset whatever they're setting, and he just pulled out his harmonica and started playing, screwing around, and the director saw it, and the rest is history. And
I believe he did like another thing with a harmonica. I think he did something with like Ray Charles, Little Richard, some famous black musician. I think it was on Moonlighting, or he maybe did a music video with him. But I've seen him do that kind of thing with the harmonica. He kills it.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. Also, big distinction for him. He is the first actor to ever act in a video game.
I didn't know that.
He's the very first one. There was a video game called Apocalypse in 1998. Nobody before, in terms of like a movie star, had done voice work, and also letting his likeness be digitally added to the game. And yeah, he's actually apparently had prominent billing on the game's cover. So
that's fantastic.
Good for him, man.
100%.
Another factoid?
I'll let you jump. You got better ones than me.
Cool. All right, cool. Also, I love this fact too. In 1997, 2001, and 2013, he each year he said he was no longer going to do violent Save the World movies, but he just keeps doing them. And he did some really good ones after each of those years.
He's done some fantastic ones.
Exactly. Also, acting helped him overcome a stutter.
No, you just screwed me up, man, because I have that as part of what I was going to get into when we jumped into Die Hard with a Vengeance. Because his co-star, Sam Jackson, also overcame a childhood stutter. So that was something the two of them had in common.
So did James Earl Jones, to my recollection.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
Got an acting to overcome a stutter.
Well, it just didn't fit in this one. But yeah, same thing.
But I actually got a quote from him. He had a terrible stutter, but then I did some theater in high school, and when I memorized words, I didn't stutter, which was just miraculous. That was just the beginning of the gradual dispelling of my stutter. I thought I was handicapped. I couldn't talk at all. I still stutter around some people sometimes, even now. It's crazy.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. Because if you don't know where it's going or something. Not everybody's like us where they can just yammer.
Yeah. Stupid. He set a new benchmark for actors, which we did mention in Die Hard. Yeah. He set a new standard for actors' salaries when he got paid $5 million to do the first Die Hard. Funny enough, 8 years later, his wife did the same thing for females, when she got paid $12 million to do striptease.
You know what?
Just keeps coming back to striptease, man.
If you're gonna get naked, get paid.
Oh my God, she looks so good in that movie.
And we'll talk about somebody else in a little bit who didn't get naked and still got paid.
That's true. Yeah. Actually, yeah. I got that fact too.
Yeah.
Okay. He divides his time between his home in Malibu, and apparently he has a place in Haley, Idaho. Excuse me. Apparently,
which is just the other side from the Teton Mountains. It's over in the Sun Valley area.
Yeah.
That's because by that point, Harrison Ford, I think, was the last movie star who could afford property in Jackson Hole. That's the little town I was from.
Wow.
It's expensive as shit, and no, we didn't come from money, so that's why we left.
Yeah. Did you ever go to Harrison Ford's property or anything like that?
I didn't. I was really little when we left. I suppose I could ask my dad. He was a deputy coroner. I don't remember hearing about dead bodies around there, but you never know.
You never know. But apparently, him and ex-wife Demi Moore bought a lot of businesses around there, and some of them were not run particularly well. But he owns the Mint Bar and the Liberty Theater in Haley. He also owns the old Haley drugstore, but apparently the building has been vacant and unused since the early 90s, but he still owns it. Also,
part of the reason they moved out there, and I think this was a really great point, something to keep in mind, is that him and Demi Moore understood and kind of got like the less than optimal side of living and raising their kids out here in LA.
Los Angeles, yeah.
So that's part of why they bought it, because it was around the time they had their daughter, so they wanted to actually get her, something approaching normalcy for a way to grow up.
Actually, I do agree with that.
100%.
If it gets to the point, God willing, where I can actually afford to have...
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, maybe have a place out here and maybe have a place in Atlanta.
I don't know anyone who likes living in LA.
No. We are, basically, everybody's out here for work or business or whatever.
That was
or they can't leave.
That was one of the best moments in Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah.
When he's trying to get with the girl from the South African embassy.
Yeah.
And she goes, I like LA. And Alex is like, that's a new one.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, it's the opposite. It's like it's two different spectrums in terms of living out here in LA. It takes you have to be very, very rich to enjoy it out here, or you're very, very poor and you're trying to get out of here. It's one of the two, or you're just people like us who just coasting through the middle.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna try to do something, jump down to like Orange County or Riverside. It sucks for the drive, but at least you're gonna live a little nicer.
A lot nicer, actually.
Yeah.
In some places. The scar on his right shoulder that a lot of people notice in movies is actually from surgery due to complications from a broken arm that he suffered while wrestling at age 17.
Which they actually used to great effect in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Which we're going to get to.
Yep.
Yeah. And let's see what else.
That was
here.
my last factoid, but I forgot it. I didn't write that one down.
This is a weirdo fact. Apparently, remember singer Nick Lachey?
Yeah.
He considers Bruce Willis to be his ultimate role model. And funny enough, his ex-wife, Jessica Simpson, actually auditioned to play Lucy McClane in Live Free or Die Hard.
Yep, no, I remember.
I can't imagine why.
She also auditioned for, was it Nancy, I think, in Sin City.
I can't imagine why they didn't pick her for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
She had to write assets for it. Well, she can't act to save her fucking life, but she...
You needed an actress.
Yeah, she definitely had to write assets. All right, so he actually graduated from Penns Grove High School in Penns Grove, New Jersey, near Philly, where he was also raised. Apparently, John Forsythe went to the same school, and he was actually voted most school spirit in 1973.
Well, good.
He's another celebrity that we know that's like voted like best whatever. I know two other ones off the top of my head. I know Steve Austin was voted, Stone Cold Steve Austin was voted like, I think it's like Mr. Cowboy, which is like the equivalent of Homecoming King in Texas. And Eddie Murphy was voted most popular when he was in high school.
What were you voted?
Shit, I wasn't voting nothing. I should have been voted most funniest because, in fact, either they were laughing with me or at me, but everybody in that goddamn school got to laugh at my expense. I'm just saying. Okay, now he actually sued Revolution Studios in 2004 for unspecified damages because he got a blow to the forehead due to ultra hazardous activity while filming the movie Tears of the Sun.
Yeah, it was a really good one.
It was a really good movie, and he claimed it caused him extreme mental, physical, and emotional pain and suffering.
That's lawyer writing.
Yes, it is. Very much so. He's also been the special ambassador to his hometown in Germany since he was 50.
Well, 14 years. He's still doing well, I guess.
Yeah. It's really nice of him.
Keep him going.
Yeah, and actually 10 major directors have cast him at least twice in their films because they love working with him. Blake Edwards, Amy Heckerling, Rob Reiner, Robert Benton, John McTiernan, Alan Randolph, M. Night Shyamalan, obviously, Quentin Tarantino, obviously, Robert Rodriguez, and Barry Levinson.
I can't wait to get to Pulp Fiction.
Oh my God, we're getting there.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? Now that we went through that list, just something to keep in mind for the future. We should do a director.
We're going to.
That'd be a really, really good one. We could do a deep dive on a director.
You want that to be our next one?
Yeah, let's do that for the next one. That'd be fun.
I got a couple choices. I think it would be great. Cool. All right. So along with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Charlton Heston, he's one of the very few Hollywood celebrities that publicly supported the Iraq War. And actually, while visiting the troops in 2003, he actually offered $1 million of his own money to the man that captured Saddam Hussein. I don't think
he ever paid that.
No. What it is, when he got captured, it turns out the military prevents troops from collecting such an award. So he was willing to do it, but they just wouldn't let him.
Well, I mean, from what I recall, they would have had to split it up between a bunch of guys. It seemed like there was a whole team went in there.
We got them.
But hey, you know what? They could have split them up.
Dude, I was working at Pro Flowers when that shit happened because I remember being in the break room. Despite like, go check out Pro Flowers and Sherry's Berries and all that shit. They actually have really good stuff. And
wait, no, don't check it out until they pay us.
yeah, and they have and I actually work customer service for them, and like people are very rude about their Sherry's Berries and Pro Flowers and shit, but they catered well.
No, there you go.
And like while in the break room, that's when we called Saddam. I was like, wow.
How old were you?
Shit.
Like 16, 17?
No, this is like less than 10 years ago. So I think I was
When
maybe...
we caught Saddam?
Yeah.
No, we caught him a while back, man.
No, I remember specifically. Was it Saddam
No,
or Bin Laden?
you're thinking when we killed Bin Laden.
Bin Laden, that's what it is.
Because you
right.
would have been in high school.
It was one of them. It was one of them.
I was in high school when they
That's
shot
right.
that asshole.
That's right. It was Bin Laden. You were totally right. It's Bin Laden.
Yeah. No, because that was just a couple years ago. When,
with the Pro Flower shit, yeah.
When SEAL Team 6 when
that's what
captain.
it was. That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. So
hey, you know what? Don't even make fun. That's exactly what happened. They kicked in the door and they shot his ass dead.
Exactly.
Threw him in the ocean.
Pretty much, right. Now getting back to Bruce Willis. Okay.
This is what you get, folks.
His performance as John McClane in, of course, the Die Hard trilogy. Oh, well, not even trilogy anymore. It's like...
I don't even...
Yeah,
no,
whatever.
it's a trilogy. The others don't count.
I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Okay, the Die Hard films
Thank you.
was ranked number 46 on Premiere Magazine's 100 Greatest Movie Characters of All Time.
100%.
Yeah. And
Which they actually said is kind of like a modern incarnation or re-envisionment of Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I think that works. It's a little more realistic, too.
Dirty Harry is the progenitor to every major action hero to this day.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It all started with Dirty Harry.
Although, actually, I mean, not to get in the weeds, we could dig down. We can get into some Charlton Heston films, and I mean, there's a few different things that happen.
No, but specifically, whenever like
With the cops, for sure.
Yeah, with cops.
For
my
sure.
cops.
Although, what about Steve McQueen with Bullet? What's the timing on that?
That was actually
Bullet first or second?
Bullet was first, but in terms of like how cops are portrayed as like the maverick cop with the the gruff voice,
For sure.
that's been copied a million times. Fucking, that's pretty much Otto Stallone in Cobra.
Give us your badge and your weapon.
Yeah, that shit. I gotta catch Sanchez. You get fired. It's too. Oh yeah, what the shit I always say? Back off, man. It's too big for you, man.
This is above your pay grade.
We gotta do a cliche show. Just a action movie cliches. It's too big for you, man. The best action movie line to me ever is in Die Hard 2, funny enough.
Okay.
John Amos to fucking the Bruce Willis. You're the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time, Bruce Willis. Story of my life. Oh, God damn it.
John McTiernan's actually said of Die Hard that it's silly, but people are going to enjoy it.
But that shit in particular, like, are you serious? Story of my life. All right, going back to this, man. All right, so he and Linda Florentino, who actually was in Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yeah. They actually worked together as bartenders at a place called the Kamikaze Club in New York in the early 80s. Because they actually mentioned that in Die Hard 2. Like, it could be a fucking bartender for all we know. He was actually a bartender.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce Willis. We mentioned this also in the Die Hard one. Little Richard presided over his wedding to Demi Moore. And again, Ali Sheedy was one of the bridesmaids in
Reno.
Yeah, in Reno, and it was actually took place at the Golden Nugget Hotel in Vegas.
Beautiful, beautiful Reno.
He's so stupid. Okay.
What was that? What was that from Arrested Development? Make the biggest little mistake of your life in Reno, Nevada.
Oh my God.
That was her competing with what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
The biggest little mistake. We love that show, man. Arrested Development.
Too good.
Yeah. All right, so he actually turned down the role of Sam in Ghost.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he actually did it because he did not think the plot would work and that playing the Ghost would be detrimental to his career. Ironically enough, he played a ghost in The Sixth Sense, and it turned out to be one of the best roles he ever did.
Yeah, but it was better writing.
Yeah, it was much better writing than Ghost.
I mean, look, Ghost is fine, but it needed to be what it was with Patrick Swayze and that whole thing because it's a chick flick.
Plus, the essential thing of The Sixth Sense is the twist that he is a ghost.
Yeah.
So then, like, when you find out he's a ghost and you look at the rest of the movie, like, oh, yeah, it gives you that.
Which, what was that? It was 2000, right?
2000.
So it's 20 years later, and I'm still...
No. 99.
Okay, so 21 years later, and I'm still pissed somebody ruined that for me. They've fucking spoiled it. I was riding around in a youth group van, and some asshole, I don't even remember who it was, it was whatever. Okay. Anyway, it wasn't one of those youth groups. It was a church youth group, as I'm sitting here cursing my anger about it. But they ruined it for me. I knew going in. I was like, damn it, now I don't even get the fun of figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll give you that. Okay. He actually apologized to Colombia for blaming the country for America's drug problems. And actually, the Colombian president actually was like, he thought his remarks were ignorant and ungrateful. And he also hated that fact that he based his arguments on Hollywood cliches.
I mean, to be fair, they do sell at wholesale prices.
A lot of cocaine.
Well, I'm just saying they sell at wholesale prices, so it's not even like they're making that much off of America's drug problem.
But they do have a lot of cocaine.
They're making a little bit.
A lot of cocaine.
I think the reality is the fact that Colombia is not really exporting it that much now, and it's like Peru and Mexico kind of goes at the point. It's like maybe it's not so much a supply issue as it is a demand issue.
Right. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Just to pull the NBA out for a second.
Supply demand. Oh, also for you people out there who are like stargazers and like to come out to Hollywood and look at this Walk of Fame, if you want to find Bruce Willis' star, it's at 6915 Hollywood Boulevard. And he got that star in 2006. I don't know what the fuck that is.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it's in front of. They should have said like it's in front of fucking like the Wax Museum or.
For all you folks coming out to stargaze at anything, wear body armor and come during the middle of the day because dangerous as hell.
If you go at night, you probably get killed.
It's like 1970s around there. Yeah, they're getting dead bodies again.
Exactly. Fucking, you might get hurt. You might step in some human shit.
Dude, I heard this story a little while back. This cop from New York was out here, and he'd just gotten out over at the Hollywood and Highland station, and he was out here following up some other supposed murder case, whatever.
Yeah.
This crazy homeless dude attacked this woman with a knife. He shot him dead right there, because thankfully he was carrying his service pistol. And that's not even like that weird of a thing for LA.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
I remember riding down there one night, and fucking, I'm just sitting there chilling, like, I think it was like eating a churro or some shit, and then this motherfucker ran right past me, and this cop's chasing after him. Apparently, he had just robbed like fucking some store around the way, and they chased him.
You know where that Popeyes is over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was doing red carpet out there a while back. We're doing one of the overnights. There was a murder in the Popeyes. Somebody shot somebody waiting for a sandwich.
Yeah, and you also
it's insane.
You'll probably see a naked person at least once.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Going out there at night, especially on like a Saturday.
And for any of you pervs out there, you don't want to see it.
You really don't. It's not the kind of good naked. It's not good nudity. Let's put it like that.
I actually saw a guy lighting a fire in one of the doorways next to Hollywood and Highland when I was over there a little while back.
Jesus Christ, man.
I don't know if he was cooking meth or if he was trying to stay warm. Neither would have surprised me.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the real LA.
Hollywood. Yeah,
that's as real as it gets, man.
Unless there's a red carpet event, the chances that you will see anybody that you want to see from the Hollywood film, anything like that, anywhere around Hollywood Boulevard is zero.
Nada.
It is zero.
Unless they're doing some shit for like Jimmy Kimmel or something.
Even if they're on Jimmy Kimmel, they're not going outside.
Not at night. I'll give you that. They usually do those skits during the day.
Yeah, they're inside. If you want to see them, go over to Melrose, go over to West Hollywood. That's where you're going to run into them. Drive up to Malibu.
Yeah. Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see him out there. It's like fucking running into like goddamn the mailman. Like fucking like, hey,
yeah.
What's happening there, Nicolas Cage? You know, shit like that. Okay. Also, he often supports, and I love this. He often supports other actors that he's met on set, and often asks for them to be given supporting roles in his films.
Yep.
Most famous examples: Michael Clarke Duncan. He worked with him on the whole 9 yards. Asked for him in Armageddon. Asked for him in Armageddon, and he was the one that suggested Michael Clarke Duncan to the producers of The Green Mile, which made Michael Clarke Duncan. Also, other actors
and brought him back again for Sin City.
That's right, true. Other actors, Billy Bob Thornton. He's helped out. They've done like 3 movies together. Who else? Nick Chinman. I forgot who that guy is. And I know Cole Hauser. That's another one. I think they did Hearts, War, and Tears of the Sun together.
Yep.
And also him and Matthew Perry became friends when they did The Whole Nine Yards. And it was Perry that suggested him coming on Friends, which won him the Emmy.
Well, and from what I understand, too, he also promoted Sam Jackson, who's just coming off his Oscar nomination for Pulp Fiction, to bring him in for Die Hard with a Vengeance.
That's right. Yes. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. It is.
And also, he's been in apparently he's been in 14 movies with numbers in them. Numbers in the title. The First Deadly Sin, 12 Monkeys, 4 Rooms, The Fifth Element, The Sixth Sense, The Whole Nine Yards, 16 Blocks, The Whole 10 Yards, Die Hard 2, Lethal Loaded Weapon 1, Ocean's 12, Catch 44, The Expendables 2, and Red 2. Crazy?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I actually kind of dig Red. Did you see it?
Yeah, I like
It's a little campy, but it's good.
I like it for what it is, based on the comic book too. So.
You know what? I never did see that.
Yeah. What?
The comic book. I never saw the comic book.
Yeah, it's okay. Same thing. Played 2 psychiatrists with a serious work-related trauma in 2 great movies.
I think you could call being shot a work-related trauma.
Yeah, and then the Color of Night. That was ridiculed in box office bomb. But I have another fact about that. He's a huge supporter of the New York Jets, obviously. Okay.
Nobody's perfect.
And speaking of that, he's a co-founder of Planet Hollywood. Together with...
You know what? That's my favorite casino in Vegas, so I'm going to allow it.
But the initial run of Planet Hollywood, the restaurants...
Dude, those were great. Get you a jacket.
Too expensive for what the fuck it was, man. Way too. I went to one. I was like, "Fuck, I'll never do this shit again."
I went to one.
Great memorabilia, but
I went once.
The food is okay at best.
No, it's not true. I went twice. One time I was traveling with my family. We were in Japan, and we were dying for a hamburger, and we found that before we found Hard Rock Cafe. So we went and paid a stupid amount of money, but it wasn't half bad. And then we tried it in Vegas, and it was so stupid expensive on the strip in Vegas, we never went back.
Right.
But, not everything can be perfect. There's a lot of cool memorabilia and shit on the walls.
Yeah, but he co-founded Planet Hollywood with his wife, Demi Moore, and more famously, Schwarzenegger and Stallone. Yeah.
Are you saying they're both more famous than Demi Moore?
Yes. I mean, I love Demi Moore, but yeah.
Yeah.
He actually has named his particular acting idols, Bruce Willis's idols, De Niro, Gary Cooper, Steve McQueen, and John Wayne. Those are his heroes.
Those are fantastic heroes to have.
Exactly. He also endorsed his friend and Die Hard 2 co-star Fred Dalton Thompson when he tried to run for president.
Well, he endorsed him when he ran for Senate, too, and he won
I believe, yes, he did. But when he tried to run for president, but
yeah.
Maxim magazine.
Married to Jerry Ryan.
Yeah, he is married.
7 and 9.
Lucky bastard.
Well, he's passed, but yeah, he was.
But he was a lucky bastard, man. Yeah. He actually, Maxim magazine actually named his sex scenes in the movie The Color of Night, which I mentioned earlier, as the best sex scenes in the history of film. They're okay. I mean, I've seen better. This is me.
There's a reason you don't work for Maxim.
That's true. Yeah. He was the first actor to guest star on Friends, and he also won an Emmy for his.
Was he on before Brad Pitt?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
And won.
I can never keep it straight.
Yeah, he won the Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series for his performance.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he was also considered for the role of Kyle Reese in The Terminator, which eventually went to Michael Biehn.
It's better that way.
Yeah, like O.J. Simpson was suggested for The Terminator.
That would have been interesting.
They should have went with it. No future.
Could you imagine?
Yes, I can imagine O.J. Simpson as the Terminator.
Yeah, but I mean, what's even better though, right? So like, follow it out, right? You got to game it all the way out. You got Terminator 1, Terminator 2. Yeah. Now he goes to trial, and then eventually goes to jail and all the rest of that. So now you have Terminator 3, and you've got to use his likeness the same way they did when he was the Governor to bring, and then Terminator, like, holy shit.
Life imitates art.
I would be surprised. Yeah, life imitates art. That's another statement. I'd be surprised if the producers don't get up every morning and thank God. Because I mean, you're not bringing back Towering Inferno. True.
That's still to this day my favorite line, my favorite punchline ever on Weekend Update. When the verdict came out, Maura McDonald. It's official, ladies and gentlemen. Murder is legal in the state of California. God damn, that's funny.
Norm is hilarious. He's so dry.
He was my favorite guy on the Weekend Update. Norm McDonald.
He's killer.
Yes, he is. No offense to all the other people, but I also really liked Tina Fey and Jimmy Fallon together. They were great.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the few that I really, really enjoyed Jimmy Fallon on.
Exactly. Yeah, they both did great jobs.
Because I've told you before, you remember that Family Guy where he like sleeps with Meg?
Oh yeah, and they keep making fun of him looking at the camera and shit.
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
and Peter comes out and beats his ass because he keeps bugging for the camera and breaking. He's like, Don't you have who was it? They were saying that it wasn't like
you're not Carol Burnett.
Yeah, you're not Carol Burnett. You haven't earned that. You can't do that. And that was the guy that slept with my daughter.
Yeah, the daughter. Yeah. That's just so stupid.
That was so cathartic for me because it frustrated the hell out of me every time I watched.
All right, now in 2009, he married his current wife, Emma Hemming Willis, in Turks and Caicos. Among the guests for the wedding, Demi Moore, Ashton Kutcher, and Madonna.
Where was it?
Turks and Caicos, the shit in the Caribbean.
I didn't even know where that was.
Yeah, and it's in the Caribbean.
That's a step up from Reno.
Funny enough, the president was once married to Lisa Ray from the Players Club.
Huh.
Yeah, but apparently he, being the president or whatever, he probably got plenty of bitches, and she found out, and kind of found out like, I'm the president of Turks and Caicos. Bitches gonna come at me. Like you knew that when you came. Like you knew that when you fucking when you came up on me. Like you're the first lady, but yeah, this is part of the deal. Like I'm gonna fuck bitches. No, you just keep the house clean, we'll be all right.
That worked out well for him.
Yeah, it worked out. He's fine. She whatever. He actually, this is a cool fact. He visited Michael Jackson on the set of the Smooth Criminal video in Moonwalker.
Oh really?
I want to do a thing on that, the movie. Because it's just a weird movie.
It is a weird movie.
Yeah, I would love to do something.
I might have to watch again before we do it.
Yeah, but like fucking, I would love to do that shit. And also, apparently, the other celebrities that visited, because it's Michael Jackson, Gregory Peck and Robert De Niro.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's actually my second favorite Michael Jackson video ever, after Thriller. It's Smooth Criminal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's fantastic. He was also considered for the. I forgot about this part. He was actually considered for the role of Lester Burnham in fucking American Beauty, but of course it went to Kevin Spacey.
Would have been weird.
It would have been weird, but I think he could have pulled it off.
But I have no hesitation at all thinking he could pull it off, but it would have been weird.
He's done 5 films total with Sam Jackson: Loaded Weapon 1, Pulp Fiction, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Unbreakable, and Glass. Mm-hmm. Yep. He admitted in Playboy magazine in 1996 that he once got arrested at 19 for possessing 2 joints of marijuana. Funny enough, it's like another celebrity I love got arrested for pot, particularly in the airport, Bill Murray.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that pot, man, inspired you. He did he filmed his part in the movie Mortal Thoughts in like 10 days. I forgot he was in that movie. Yeah, Mortal Thoughts. Yeah. He actually met his ex-wife, Demi Moore, at a screening of Emilio Estevez's movie Stakeout. And funny enough, she was actually in a relationship with Emilio Estevez at the time.
She traded up.
Yeah, she did, man, because apparently she found out that he fathered 2 kids with another chick while they were together.
Really?
Yeah. So,
I didn't realize he was such a player.
Yeah, Emilio Estevez, man.
The Mighty Ducks man himself.
Gordon Bombay getting that ass, boy.
That jerk in the minors who hit my knee.
Crippled
my film career.
I love the fucking what's the shit? The Patrice O'Neal shit of the talking about what happened to Emilio Estevez, man.
Oh god, we got to do a stand-up one.
And he was the good one. That's fucked up, man. Why are we not celebrating Emilio? The Charlie Sheen roast. I remember that now, man. Oh my god. He is inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame in 2011 for his contributions to arts and entertainment. He's actually mentioned in the Nicki Minaj song "Your Love." And do you know the one celebrity he credits for helping him get over his divorce to Demi Moore?
Nah, I don't.
Will Smith.
Really?
He credits for him for helping him get over the divorce, and also for accepting Ashton Kutcher as the new husband, because he has a blended family too.
Yeah.
So.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, and it's kind of weird. I wouldn't have expected because from what I recall, those guys haven't ever worked together, have they?
Will Smith and Bruce Willis? No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's a small town.
It's a small town, yeah.
Especially at that level.
Yes. Yeah, there's only a few that make it to that damn level. So.
I mean, you include everybody. Like, if we're going to extend it out to, like, the seat fillers and everything when it comes to the Oscars. The guys that work in that level, you got like 1,000 people tops. I mean, it's basically a high school.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
He's very cliquish like a high school too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. He's actually been named on several best celebrity tippers lists for years. Mainly because of the fact he remembers his struggling days as a waiter and bartender while he was starting as an actor too. So he hooks him up, man.
That's good.
Yeah. He has 5 daughters. Rumor, Scout, Tallulah. All of those were his ex-wife Demi Moore, and 2 other daughters were his new wife Emma, Mabel, and Evelyn. All daughters. Yeah. He is actually, as of 2014, he's been in 3 films that have been nominated for Best Picture: The Verdict, Pulp Fiction, and The Sixth Sense.
Yep. All of them solid too.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you get a nomination going, really? Mm-hmm. None of those.
Yep. He's mentioned in the song "Jizz in My Pants" by The Lonely Island, and apparently one of the guys on The Lonely Island and him share the same birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, and also he's played.
That's weird.
Yeah, he's also he's also played several roles with characters with the letter J at the beginning of it. John McClane, Joe Hallenbeck, which we're going to talk about. Jimmy the Tulip, shit like that. The Jackal.
Yeah, I actually was getting the Jackal.
The Jackal. That's another one of those honorable mentions, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I like
Which
the Jackal.
is it's informed and kind of loosely based on a real I think it was an IRA hitman, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Who's called the Jackal. So it's good. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
It is a very good movie. Weird fact, I did not realize this. His episode of Inside the Actor's Studio was filmed the day before 9/11 in New York.
Huh.
The day before.
It's crazy.
And the episode is dedicated to those people in 9/11 and for the heroes to fight on, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. He's actually been in 3 movies where he meets a younger version of himself. 12 Monkeys, The Kid for Disney, and Looper, the one with him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, when they did the crazy makeup job on Joseph Gordon, making him look like Bruce Willis.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
He's played a hitman twice in The Jackal and in the whole 9 Yards movies. Mm-hmm. Quentin Tarantino has stated several times that his performance in Unbreakable is hands down the best performance of his career.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's again, it didn't make our list, and it's not because...
It made my list, but...
Well, I was going to say, and it's not because it's not a fantastic performance. Mm-hmm. It's just there's so much to choose from, and at a certain point... I'm looking at when it comes to Bruce Willis movies, I'm looking at something beyond his performance. I'm looking at which movie do I like the totality of the best. Yeah. That was 11 for me.
Okay, I got you.
It just barely fell off the list.
I got you. And just like AJ mentioned earlier, he has a band, Bruce Willis and the Accelerators. In 2002, their biggest tour ever was in 15 cities across the United States. Good for them.
And he's played USO with them a few times.
Yes, he is. And he's appeared in... 2 films that have been selected for the National Film Registry, the Library of Congress: Die Hard and Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
And also, I'm looking at the salaries he's got for some of these movies. Oh my God! Like at minimum, look at this. Like he got $5 million for Die Hard, $10 million for fucking Look Who's Talking, $7 million for Die Hard 2. Really? Okay. Another $10 million for fucking Look Who's Talking 2.
Die Hard 2 was pretty quick after.
Yeah. $3 million for Bonfire of the Vanities. $14 million for The Last Boy Scout. Only $800,000 for Pulp Fiction. He did take a cut for that.
Well, the other thing you got to keep in mind with a lot of these, when you see his numbers dropping, you're just looking at straight up what did they get as their salary, right? Because what they're really getting, what they're trading, it's all back end.
Yeah, he got $16 million for Last Man Standing, and basically every movie he's made since 2000 has been at least $14 million per movie.
Did you get the numbers on Fifth Element?
No,
okay.
Wait. Do I have Fifth Element? No, I didn't get
okay, because we'll get to that in a second here, but he took a major haircut for that one.
Yes, he did. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into those movies, man.
Which one we going to start with?
I'm going to start with Pulp Fiction first. That's
what I got first here.
That's my obvious favorite, too. So same thing, we're going to trade facts. I'll start it off. First person suggested for the role of Butch Coolidge in Pulp Fiction, Mickey Rourke.
Yep.
He claimed that he didn't understand the script. He obviously regretted that decision later because it's such a great fucking movie. And I think he did it because he wanted to pursue his boxing career that he had at the time, which he has kind of been on and off on for years.
Yeah. Well, that was around the time that he gave the middle finger to Hollywood because he quit for a minute, and then when he didn't become the next middleweight champ, he came back.
A couple other contenders for Butch: Matt Dillon, Sean Penn, Nicolas Cage, Aiden Quinn, which I thought was weird, and Johnny Depp.
You think it's weird? You think either of them's weirder, or he's weirder than Johnny Depp or Sean Penn?
Yeah.
Sean Penn would have been weird.
You know, I would have said
He just doesn't have the build.
I didn't know initially who Aiden Quinn was, and I was like, fucking, he's been staring at my face the whole time because I love the show Elementary on CBS. He was like the police captain in New York of that show. He was fucking fantastic in that role. So looking at him because he was this tough Irishman, cop or whatever, captain shit. I think he would have been great as Butch. Okay. Now that I see him.
So one of the things that was obviously big about it, and it's on the positive and on the negative side as far as people giving their personal opinion on the film when it debuted in Cannes. They said that it was manipulative because Tarantino plays around with the timeline and with the stories as far as bouncing around. Because, for example, the way he describes it is that as far as the Butch section, the section that we're looking at with Bruce Willis, you're essentially watching a boxing movie, which he actually compares to a 1947 film called Body and Soul, which is a boxing noir thing. And you're cruising along in that, and that's kind of where you're at. And then you take this hard left turn all of a sudden when they fall into the pawn shop into Deliverance. Right, because prior to that, he's going home to go pick up his watch because his girl forgot it, and then he ends up, taking out Vincent. Just about kills Marcellus Wallace. The two of them are beating the hell out of each other as they fall into the pawn shop. He knocks out Marcellus Wallace. He's about to kill him. He gets knocked out by the pawn shop owner, and then Zed comes to town.
Exactly. Now, speaking of, since you brought that up, now. The one thing that really sets Pulp Fiction apart is its nonlinear structure.
Yep.
But chronologically speaking, the first scene of that movie is Vincent and Jules in the car going to the job. The last scene of the movie, chronologically, is Bruce Willis and Fabian riding away on a chopper.
Motorcycle.
And the last official line of the movie is "Zed's dead, baby."
Yep.
Zed's
if
dead.
it's chronological.
Chronologically, that is the last line of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, Harvey Keitel is the one that convinced him to take the part, and mainly because of the fact that Bruce Willis apparently is a huge fan of Reservoir Dogs. So, good for him.
Something else on there that was interesting that Tarantino talked about the film, all of the action is between couples. Right, so you have Jules and Vincent. You've got Vincent and Mrs. Wallace. Right,
True.
Every time you see something happening, it's always between couples. With the one exception being Bruce Willis's character is Butch. That point in time where he's going to go pick up the watch, that's the only time for any amount of time that he's really truly an individual, so to speak. He doesn't have somebody that's with him in it. Like even when he's in the cab coming back from the fight, you still have
him and the chick. Yeah.
Exactly. So what's really interesting in what he was going for and the way that it kind of turns convention on its head is that when they wake up in the pawn shop basement, ball gagged, and Zed's going to rape them and all that horrible stuff happens. And by the way, 1994, if you haven't seen it, no spoilers, just, get a life. Go watch it.
It's Pulp Fiction is one of the most famous movies of the last 30 fucking years.
But what he's saying is there's the moment Butch has knocked out the Gimp, which I'll get to him in just a second.
Yeah.
He's just about to leave, and he has a moment where he's deciding between, okay, am I going to take the hammer? Then he upgrades a little bit. He's like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to take the baseball bat. Maybe I'll take the chainsaw, but then he sees the sword.
Yeah.
He actually went with the sword specifically because it was a nod to a Japanese film called The Drifting Avenger from '68.
Yeah.
When he comes back down and he kills the pawn shop owner and puts Zed into the corner, essentially, and gives Marcellus his moment to shoot Zed, at that point, the story really, truly becomes about the two of them. At that point, they've become a couple. We can get into a minute what happens there. And when we say a couple, this is in the larger acting stance of things. It's obviously, there's something that's bound the two of them together because unfortunately for Marcellus Wallace, he got raped.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis just about got raped, but he had that sense of this just isn't right. Yeah. Which is one of the things that makes people like his character so much is that even though he double-crossed him and all the other stuff, he still, to go with that great line from The Wire, from Omar Little, he's a man with a code.
Exactly.
A man's got to have a code.
Exactly. And specifically, that character, Butch Coolidge, was based on actually an old pulp character, Mike Hammer, a private eye character. created by Mickey Spillane, and they've done a bunch of like movies and TV shows on Mike Hammer. The most famous one would probably be Stacy Keach did a series on Mike Hammer in the 80s. But yeah, same thing. Very misanthropic, tough guy. Will kill a motherfucker with the quickness. Not a very nice person, but at the same time, man with a code. The actual movie itself cost about only $8 million to make altogether. The initial budget was actually even lower, but then Bruce Willis got added to the cast. And at the time, he was actually coming off of like a string of like flops, like Hudson Hawk and shit like that. So $5 million altogether went to all the actors' salaries. So yeah, they all took a significant cut to do this movie. All the principal actors, anyway.
But they all got back in.
Oh my God, yes they did. And the movie actually went on to gross over $200 million in the box office.
Yep.
When Quentin Tarantino actually reached out to get Bruce Willis, he kept referring to him as Joe Hallenbeck from the Last Boy Scout. His character in The Last Boy Scout. Is Joe Hallenbeck there?
Which we'll get to in a minute. That was a killer performance.
Yeah. Now, the one scene that I like, one of the scenes I like, him and Travolta together when they first meet. Well, when they first meet in the movies, when we see him in the bar with Marcellus or whatever.
Yeah, he's waiting to talk to him.
And they have the little conversation. And peck of red apples. That shit.
Yeah.
You looking at something, friend? I'm not your friend, Palooka. Now, a lot of people don't know what that word is, Palooka. Now, the word Palooka is actually based on a cartoon character named Joe Palooka, who was actually a boxer in some comic books and shit. Now, Palooka can be seen as a derogatory term for boxers, or basically just somebody who's like oafish or dumb. You know what I'm saying? And also, since the next line after that, what's that? I think you heard me just fine, punchy.
Yep.
That's another derogatory term for boxers from, you've been hitting the head too many times that you're not really, right no more.
There.
Like some can say like certain boxers, like, man, the Holyfield is punchy. You hear them talk, or like the boxers, like, they've been hitting the head so many times, their speech deteriorates, their mental capacity deteriorates.
It's because they've
makes
had
them do a lot
massive TBI.
It makes them do a lot of questionable shit. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking Riddick Bowe kidnapping his family, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm sorry. Mike Tyson, yeah. But
that's all encompassing.
Yeah, but like Mike's like speech is not like impaired. Mike's speech is already fucked up before.
Well, the speech is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to throw in there, from what I've heard and seen from some of the public stuff, since he started using marijuana the way that he does.
Oh, he's super cool now.
He's been a lot more chilled out.
Yeah.
And from any of the other celebrities, anyone else who's like hung around him, people you hear talking about and everything, it made a difference for him. So you know what? Call it medicinal, call it whatever. It's working.
He's
doing better.
He actually has a podcast that was on Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. It's actually really good.
I gotta listen to that. I haven't heard that.
It's on YouTube. If you get to check it out, check out Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. It's pretty good. I love Mike Tyson, man. Now, actually, weird enough, for Bruce's section of Pulp Fiction, there are actually 3 references to Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah. The watch itself is actually, remember he's telling the story, is purchased by his great-grandfather in a journal store in Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's right.
When he talks to old boy Scotty, like, I'll meet you, next time I see you, it'll be at Tennessee time. Same thing. And then in the pawn shop, one of the license plates you see is a Tennessee plate. So, yeah, weird shit. Also, the Honda... The little Honda.
That one. That's been around.
Yeah, the poor little Honda that Fabian had that he used. 1980 white Honda Civic was actually the same car that Jackie Brown was driving in Jackie Brown.
Yep.
Yeah. So and
it actually appears again in Kill Bill Volume 1.
Yes, it does. Actually, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Yep.
Goddamn Honda got around, man.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Well, and then one of the things we'll dispel right now, there was a rumor for a while from some of the people, big fanboys, that the samurai sword he used to kill the pawn shop owner is the same one that was Bud's.
Isn't Hattori Hanzo sword? Yeah, that
right.
shit.
But it's not, because if you actually watch all the way through into Kill Bill Volume 2, it's in the golf bag.
Yeah,
so he never actually pawned it. Just because he said it was a lie, and it was this whole kind of a thing. So everybody always trying to connect everything in the Tarantino world.
Yeah, and also if you ever want to visit the exact apartment, the exact apartment.
Oh, okay.
Is actually at 11755 Gilmore Street in North Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it looks the exact same.
Well, and then you can actually go to the pawn shop. That's still in operation as a pawn shop.
Yeah. All right, and also my last fact for Pulp Fiction, Butch is actually the character that kills the most people in the movie. Ironically, because of the fact he's not the one that's actually a professional killer. He kills Wilson in the fight.
Yep.
He kills Vincent. He supposedly kills the Gimp. It's never been confirmed or denied he killed the Gimp.
Well, he was hung. He hung himself, basically.
All right, so he killed the Gimp, and then he killed, what's his name, Maynard.
Yep.
Yeah, so he killed 4 people. Everybody else, Marcellus and Vincent and Jules killed 3.
Yep.
So, yeah, he kills the most people.
Do you know who the Gimp was?
Yeah, it was Julius Sweeney's husband.
It's Stephen Hibbert.
Yeah. But yeah, at the time he was married to Julius Sweeney.
Well, yeah, and actually, you know how, and she's in it as well. You know how that whole connection happened, right?
The Groundlings.
Yeah, well, but I mean, you know how the connection to Pulp Fiction happened.
How so?
So apparently she was working on a script. She's an SNL contributor for a long time, all that stuff, but she's working on a script for It's Pat.
It's Pat, yeah.
And actually, I guess Tarantino helped her out a little bit on that one.
That's right. He did. Yeah, he did.
And so that's how the connection
right.
happened to get her in. Kathy Griffith is also in that scene. She has a small moment.
And Phil Lamar. All of them were members of the Groundlings.
Now, the last thing I'm going to throw in, because it goes back to our other factoid about when Bruce Willis got married.
Yeah.
He was 38 years old when he made this film.
Yes, he was.
So the only thing I can never remember for sure is whether or not he was married before or after they shot it. But either way,
yeah,
it was a big year for him.
Yeah, so that's my last thing for Pulp Fiction.
That's what I got for Pulp Fiction, too.
All right, so let's go
If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Please watch it, yeah.
If you've seen it, go watch it. It's good.
Stupid. All right, so my next factoid for The Last Boy Scout. You got that?
Oh, yes. Let me get to The Last Boy Scout.
Get to The Last Boy Scout, yeah.
Ready to rock and roll.
Ready to rock and roll? All right, so first choice for the role of Joe Hallenbeck. Also, let's get it out of the way. Directed by Tony Scott, written by Shane Black, who I actually got the chance to work with. Dope ass dude.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like hearing that.
I did a short film with him called Wild Nothing like last year. He was a great guy, man. But same thing, killer thing too. Like he kills me in the movie.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, written by Shane Black. Love Shane Black's work. And the original choice for Joe Hallenbeck was actually Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, but you gotta go all the way back, because the thing that was crazy about this, so when he dropped the script off at his agent's office, it sold in less than 48 hours, and it sold for $1.75 million.
Nice.
And he sold it to Warner's, and he actually turned down $2.5 million because he wanted to work with Joel. Nice. It was all about working with Joel Silver.
Yes.
And then it didn't take very long, because Joel Silver, obviously, with all his Bruce Willis time, so let's bring Bruce in.
Yes, exactly.
Now, the one thing I'll throw out before we really dig into this that I find to be a little bit annoying, but it is what it is, people love to hate this film.
Yeah, they do. I don't know why. I like this movie.
You know what? I think it's because they don't understand it.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah. Also, speaking of Joel Silver, this is actually the last collaboration between Bruce Willis and Joel Silver.
Which is a travesty. Well, last so far. They're both still working.
Yeah. So basically they had done a couple movies together before, Die Hard 2, and Hudson Hawk. Yep. And apparently that eventually took a toll on their professional relationship. That plus the fact that Silver got kicked out of Fox.
Well, and then this one here, too, with Last Boy Scout, they actually ended up, Bruce Willis, his company, they took a little bit more control over it. So I think that's part of why people ended up kind of hating on it. And I think that also, whenever you bring in an additional production company and essentially an additional producer, it's going to strain that relationship.
True. Also, speaking of the cast itself, Damon Wayans is in the movie as Jimmy Dix.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Funny enough, though they play buddies in this movie, they actually hated working with each other.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what they did, and that's actually not that surprising now that I think about it, because my one of my really great professors and friends I had years ago, he said he's worked with actors that hated each other's guts. And he's talking about, like, especially if you're doing like a male and a female lead, they can't stand being in the same room with each other, but on screen they just have the absolute best chemistry. And he said he's worked with actors that were screwing, and he said it's just two dead fish on screen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense. Sometimes that hatred or whatever, that adds something a little extra to it, even though you're in a position where you really don't like the other person.
Right. Now, actually, as far as the character goes, Joe Hallenbeck himself throughout this movie is assaulted 12 times throughout the movie. He's hit in the face 7 times. He's hit in the back of the head 3 times. He's tasered once, and he's stabbed once. So he takes a lot of punishment in this movie.
But he gives a lot.
Yes, he does.
You remember that moment when the guy hits him? He says, "You hit me again, I'll kill you." He hits him and he drives his nose into his brain.
Jesus Christ!
That was one of the coolest like action moments.
He's so he's so slubby looking. You don't
expect it.
That dude to do that shit. Like Halle Berry and Bruce Willis would actually appear together again in another movie, The Perfect Stranger, 16 years later.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and also this is one of 2 films directed by Tony Scott with a sports theme, and also features a black and white actor. The other one, The Fan, the baseball movie with De Niro as the obsessed fan, and Wesley Snipes is the fucking baseball player or whatever. Yeah, that shit. So crazy. And funny enough, the film was actually released 1 year after Look Who's Talking 2 was released, which actually also starred Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans as the voice of two toddlers.
Yeah.
Yeah. The poo-poo and the pee-pee, I remember that movie. the toilet take the doo-doo and take the pee-pee, like Damon Wayans.
So one of the sad things about this film, Shane Black and actually Joel Silver to some extent, from what I hear, and a lot of these guys, they were one of the few times where they say they feel like what was in the script was better than what they ended up with on screen.
Yeah.
There's actually an end sequence that takes place. It wasn't supposed to happen at the stadium like that. It was supposed to happen on a freeway overpass. And was it Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? Is that no? What was the one that it was his first directorial debut? Shane Black.
I believe it was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I think it was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He actually basically lifted that scene and put it in at the end because he wanted to bring that back.
Speaking of which, another line that he uses from another movie to this movie, Your Show Ace, was actually was actually in The Monster Squad, which he wrote, which Shane Black wrote.
Oh, right.
I love The Monster Squad. You ever watch it?
Yeah. You know what my favorite line from this film is, though?
What?
It's when his soon to be ex-wife or his cheating wife comes back and she's all crying and she goes, "I'll get a dog. I'll get a dog."
Yeah, because
because he told her before, she's saying, "Look, what am I supposed to do? You're gone all the time. I'm lonely." And he goes, "Get a dog."
Yeah, exactly. Well,
yeah, it was a killer line.
I had no sympathy for the wife whatsoever.
Well, and you weren't supposed to. She was screwing around on him, and he's the last Boy Scout.
There you go. The tagline: "There are no real heroes left in the world." Yeah, that's it. All right, so that's my last line for Boy Scout.
Only other thing I have is that Shane Black was saying what he was going for, what he wanted this film to be, what they were trying to do with it, was they wanted it to be a real detective story. They were trying to get back to something a lot more nuts and bolts. Nice. And once it kind of took on a life of its own, as so often happens in Hollywood, you end up with what you ended up with. I think it's kind of a shame that, the worst review I saw was somebody called it the movie equivalent of a hate crime, which I thought was way over the top. I'm pretty sure The Birth of a Nation is a movie equivalent of a hate crime.
That's literally a movie about hate crimes, yeah.
Well, it is a hate crime, but I'm just like, this was like, no, Damon Wayans is freaking hilarious. Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis, kicking some bad guys' asses. Like, it's a solid film.
This is like early 1990s compared to the shit that people say on Twitter on a regular basis.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's a solid film. So if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, watch it. It's great.
Please do. Next movie, The Fifth Element.
I like this one.
The Fifth Element. I loved this movie when it first came out.
I love this movie now.
Because it's so beautifully shot and it's just so weird.
And what's sad is that Valerian was supposed to be the follow-on to this world, to this universe, and it missed.
Yes, it did. I'll give you that.
In a big way.
Yeah. So directed by Luc Besson, a French director. He actually wrote the story when he was in high school. And he made the hero a taxi driver because his own dad was a taxi driver, and he worked that second job to support Luke going into art school. Mm-hmm. So basically, Luke has a taxi driver in almost every one of his movies to honor his father.
Well, and one of the things that's crazy about that with him starting in high school, he started writing it, he says, when he was 16. Mm-hmm. When they actually finally went to shoot, he was 38 years old. And he was inspired by French sci-fi comics. And so they actually had to do a rewrite. It was basically broken originally into 2 scripts. Mm-hmm. And I'm blanking on the guy's name, but they actually brought in a couple of writers, and they merged the 2 scripts and rewrote it. In fact, originally it was supposed to be Zaltman Belaris, and that became Corbin Dallas,
nice.
Bruce Willis's character.
Yeah.
And so they were able to make that nice adjustment. But this is the one we were talking about before, where he took a massive haircut financially,
yes, he did.
just to do it.
Yes, he did.
And it was because he thought it was an interesting idea, an interesting film.
Speaking of which, Luc Besson has actually said that casting Bruce Willis, one of the biggest movie stars in the world, was actually the easiest part of the movie.
Yeah.
He went to New York. These are exact quotes. He went to New York. He read the script. 2 hours later, he said he'd do it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. 2 hours later.
Something else that's crazy about this, because this only happens a handful of times in films like this. Mm-hmm. So the main bad guy, Gary Oldman, they never have any screen time.
Actually, that's another quote. That's one of my.
And in
facts
fact,
too.
who's the guy? I'm blanking on his name. Who plays the the priest?
I know that actually.
There's actually an argument to be made that his character is the one that actually saves the universe. So one of the things that is it Besson? I think is how you say his last name. The director was saying is that it's really about two different things. Mm-hmm. It's not in this movie. Bruce Willis isn't trying to save the world. It's a love story.
Yeah,
it's Bruce Willis, and he's fallen in love with Mia.
Yeah.
And he's trying to kind of do right by her, but also be with her. Meanwhile, you have Zorg out there doing all this crazy shit. Gary Oldman trying to take over the universe.
It's so goddamn
and
weird.
They're just intersecting in a weird way.
Well, Gary Oldman's weird in everything he does, but he's so
everybody
wonderfully
in that movie is weird.
He's so wonderfully weird. Chris Tucker is super fucking weird in this movie. Yeah, and Chris Tucker just loud as shit on the regular anyway, but he's really out there in this movie with the fucking Ruby Rush shit. And
well, but I mean, Besson's kind of like he's a weird dude too. Like he was actually originally married to the woman who plays the opera singer at the end.
Yeah, actually,
and he left her for Mia.
Actually, speaking of which, the opera singer, when you see the look on Bruce Willis's face when the opera singer sings, that was real. That's the first time you ever heard her.
That's the first time anybody had seen her.
And it was the first time you saw her in makeup. Yeah. I was like, whoa.
And one of the only things that Besson wasn't super excited about was that he wanted to shoot in France, but they had to shoot Pinewood, UK. Which, it's fine. I mean, you go where the elements are and where the producers want to go.
One of the most famous studios in the world.
Well, in fact, what's her name's? If I remember correctly, I believe the Weinsteins were heavily involved in this one.
Okay.
To get it taken care of because none of the studios would finance it because it was so weird.
Yeah.
There's like, we don't know what to do. And then you'll if you watch it now, they did actually, especially for the times, and it holds up. Mm-hmm. They had a really great combination of early CGI and practicals. They kind of blend together in a way where it still works today. You don't watch it like sometimes like you watch some of these old like weird science. You go, okay, it's a little campy. Yeah. You didn't get that with this one.
One fun non-Bruce Willis-y fact that I found out about The Fifth Element has two actors from Friday in it. Chris Tucker and Tiny Lister as the president.
Oh shit, that's right. I forgot Tiny was in it.
Fucking Smokey and goddamn Debo are in The Fifth Element.
Now, do you know who the producers looked at originally on this one?
For who?
For Corbin Dallas.
No, I don't.
They looked at Mel Gibson because they wanted a big Hollywood name. They looked at him for a half second, and then Bruce Willis got pulled in, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm on board."
Yeah, I like Bruce Willis more.
100%. It's way better this way.
Yeah, I got you. The line in the movie that Bruce Willis has, "Look, lady, I only speak two languages, English and bad English," ad-lib by Bruce Willis.
Now, one of the weird things about this when I was reading, before Bruce Willis showed up, they had all the cast together. Everyone was doing everything ahead of time. Mm-hmm. They got one of those standard things. They told the cast that, don't make eye contact, don't initiate conversation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the two things that I'm noticing, because I've run across this, you and I have multiple times, right? Mm-hmm. I have yet to hear this come from the star themselves, with two exceptions, which we're not going to mention on air because we're just not going to do that. Mm-hmm. And also realizing what you were saying before about his issue with stuttering, where he still has that problem today.
Yeah,
that might almost be like, because if you're nervous in those kind of situations, I could understand that you don't want it to screw with his head or something. So it might be something somebody's doing for him without him even knowing.
Yeah,
which I could totally see that happening, especially somebody like him who's got the stutter thing.
Yeah,
but on the flip side, could be that he's going, hey, I just can't handle meeting new people, and I'm going to freak out if we have to do it. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. You said that's happened to you twice where they do the whole thing, don't touch them, don't talk to them, that shit.
A few times.
It's happened to me twice.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And like I said, there's one or two where I know it's definitely coming from the personality.
Yeah.
But and there's other times where I look at it, I'm like, I think you're just overzealous. Chill out, bud. Because some of the PR people are a little bit over the top.
For me, yes. The other one...
Maybe.
But like they will come up to you if you're doing a production. They'll say, "Hey, don't talk to him. Do not talk to the person unless he talks to you first. Don't ask for a picture." But we started being comedians. We made fun of that shit. Don't talk to him. Don't look at him. Don't have unhappy thoughts around him. If you fart, it will make him fart. Shit like that.
No, I gotta say though that, and to be fair, because a lot, and not all of them, but a lot of these ones that, and I think if I remember right, one or two of the ones you were in where you heard this. They say that in general to the actors about everybody when it comes to the extras. Sorry, when it comes to the extras, because one of the things that's frustrating for extras, it's also frustrating for like grips and the people who are doing like the below the line shit. There's always everyone's looking for an angle. Everybody's trying to get their moment in the sun and whatever it is, and so it could be a little bit of that too. We just don't know for sure.
Weird part about it is, now that I think about that, both of those things that happened, I'm not going to name the people, but both of those things were sports related.
Could be.
One was a wrestling thing, the other one was football, which is crazy. Going back to The Fifth Element, in 1999, Bruce Willis spoke so favorably about this movie. He said it's a really fun movie to make. Also, other people like Mila Jovovich and Chris Tucker also said the same thing. That making the film was one of the best experiences of their careers. And that's crazy. And also, fun, weird fact, Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich, Chris Tucker, and Gary Oldman are all left-handed.
Which, we'll get to his left-handedness here when we get to Sin City.
That's right. Actually, let's go to that.
Hold on.
Do you have anything more for
one last
Element?
thing before we jump over?
Yeah.
So the language that Mia speaks was actually created by her and Bassan.
Yeah.
And they actually would call each other and write each other letters with 400 words, and none of the writers and nobody else knows what the hell they were saying. It's just a thing between the two of them.
Right.
But since we'll use the left-handedness to roll into Sin City, Bruce Willis, as we've noted multiple times before, famously left-handed. He actually plays right-handed in this film.
Yeah, that was one of my.
And that's to make it a shot-for-shot, essentially remake, or remake's probably the wrong word, but translations. What Robert Rodriguez kept using as his way of describing it of the graphic novel.
Now, since we're doing that, let's go ahead and pop into our next movie, Sin City, which is a ensemble piece. Basically a collection of stories, which I love, directed by Robert Rodriguez, guest director Quentin Tarantino, and shot almost entirely
Frank
on
Miller
green.
has a directing credit too, right?
Yes, he does actually. I'll give you that. Frank Miller too, and shot almost entirely on green screen.
Yep.
Because of the fact that movie,
They only built like 4 practicals.
Yeah, that movie is stylistically one of my favorite movies ever. Because of the fact it's very rare that you get movies that are like almost identical to the comic. They went out of their way above and beyond to make this as comic accurate as possible, and I love it. Now, the movie itself is based on the graphic novels, the series of graphic novels entitled Sin City, short for Basin City, created by legendary artist and writer Frank Miller. Frank Miller's greatest contribution to comics in a lot of people's eyes is Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, which has been the influence for basically every modern film interpretation of Batman since it came out.
Pretty close.
The Burton Batmans, the freaking definitely the Nolan.
Yeah.
The Nolan.
Well, I mean, it's called Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises.
And then even little elements of it are in Batman v Superman.
Yep.
Well, very, very specific elements, especially with Ben Affleck being an older Batman and coming back, that kind of bullshit. But yeah, but still, fantastic story. Also is responsible for the modern take of Daredevil.
Yep.
The whole thing on Netflix's series of Daredevil that they had, the whole thing of it being dark, and the whole thing with the Hand and Elektra and the Kingpin and all that shit, all Frank Miller. Stan Lee created it. Frank Miller really defined Daredevil.
Yep.
And one important element that he added to the character of Wolverine is his Japanese background.
Yep.
Him going to Japan, and actually Frank Miller's greatest contribution to that character, which is a line that they use for Wolverine in various forms of media. I'm the best there is at what I do, and what I do ain't very nice.
Yep.
So Frank Miller's the man. Also, he wrote RoboCop and RoboCop 2 and 3.
Yep. Hey, you got it right. What you got it right.
Funny enough, his RoboCop 2 and 3 are actually one thing. And they split it up in 2 movies. And they actually released his one thing of RoboCop, which he actually wrote and drew as a graphic novel. It was really good.
Yeah.
They titled it Frank Miller's RoboCop.
Yeah. Well, and actually in this film, if you actually look at it, there is no writing credit. The only credit, and Robert Rodriguez said he did this intentionally. The only credit, I'm sorry, I mixed this up before when I said Fifth Element was connected in with the Weinsteins. It's actually Sin City was what the Weinsteins were on, because Rodriguez, the way he shot the whole thing, the way they put it together was so weird. Nobody else would touch it. Nobody would let him work that way. We can get into that. Might be one of the directors we look at. He has a very interesting way of working and a crazy background.
Just does.
But he didn't want this to be something that was a standard adaptation for film.
Yeah.
So the only credit that anybody gets in this thing approaching writing is created by Frank Miller.
Gotcha. Now, the actual story itself is based on 3 specific Sin City books. The Big Fat Kill, The Hard Goodbye, and Bruce Willis's segment is That Yellow Bastard.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, there's one night between filming certain scenes, Robert Rodriguez actually put on a concert at a local nightclub in L.A. It was his band and Bruce Willis's band, Bruce Willis and the Accelerators. And basically, it was attended by the entire cast of Sin City, also the entire cast of A Scanner Darkly.
Yep.
They were all there, and basically all the proceeds of that particular show went to charity.
Yep, they just set it up as just a fun thing to do, because he actually has his house across the street from the studio. They're just looking to do something, and that by he I mean Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
They just wanted to break it up a little bit.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Now, in this particular part, Bruce Willis plays a hardened cop named John Hardigan. Now, the whole thing of Hardigan is he's protecting this little girl named Nancy from this sociopathic pedophile, basically.
Who's the son of a powerful politician.
Yeah, O'Rourke or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at one point, the Hardigan character tells Nancy, "I'm old enough to be your grandfather," which in actuality, Bruce Willis and Nancy, Jessica Alba, are actually 26 years apart. So he's not
old enough to be a dad.
He's old enough to be a father, not necessarily a grandfather.
But I mean, they grizzled him up, make him look older, and she was looking like she was about 18.
Speaking of which, several of the actors were basically made to look like I talked about, comic book accurate. They made it to look similar to their characters in the comic books. They went underwent heavy makeup and prosthetics to resemble those Frank Miller characters. The particular actors, Bruce Willis, mainly fucking Mickey Rourke. He's almost comic accurate. Benicio del Toro and Nick Stahl with the yellow stuff.
And one, I think there's prosthetics and stuff on him as well.
Oh yes,
to make him more accurate.
Yeah,
with the nose.
They added more wrinkles to Bruce Willis's face, and they had the scars and shit like that. Yeah.
Well, and so people know if they haven't watched it, we catch them up a little bit. The reason Yellow Bastard's yellow is because earlier on, when this guy's a pedophile, he's trying to basically rape and murder Nancy while she's a child.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis finds out, and he essentially castrates him.
Yes, he does.
Blows his dick and balls off.
Jesus.
And with a gun, he goes to jail because Sin City's a corrupt place. So even though the cop's doing the right thing, this guy goes to jail
because of the fact you did this to the son of a corrupt politician.
Whatever politician it is, and he spends a bunch of money basically regrowing, and that's what turns regrowing the guy's genitals, and that's what turns him yellow.
Which are getting ripped off at the end.
Well, we'll get back to the end here in a second.
This movie also produced a sequel, Sin City: A Dame to Die For, in 2014. Among the actors to return for the sequel, Bruce Willis, Rosario Dawson, Mickey Rourke, Jessica Alba, Jamie King, and Powers Booth. They're the only ones that returned.
Yep.
Everybody else was new. Now, the actual gun that he uses is actually a Beretta M9 3R. Basically, it's the same kind of gun they used in the RoboCop movies. It's modified, of course, but the same gun. And like you were talking about earlier, though Bruce Willis is left-handed, his character is right-handed, and they made shots in the movie specifically to show that Hardigan was right-handed,
so that it would be more accurate.
That's right. Also, there's one particular scene that's actually a throwback to Die Hard.
Got me.
Yeah, that was one of your favorites. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so Hardigan actually storms into the Yellow Bastard's farm towards the end of the movie. He's shot in the arm at one point, but then the officer that shoots him gets to his body, and they say, like, I'm going to pulverize him, and they pulverize him and don't take any chances. And then Hardigan rolls over and kills them both and comments, "Good advice." Same scene with fucking old boys getting shooting at him.
The only difference was it was two dirty cops that he kills in this one. It was just the one guy in Die Hard.
The one terrorist,
Yeah.
This thing you're trying to do someone. Shoot them. Bah, 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 bah. Okay, good. Thanks for the advice. Same shit, yeah. I love that shit, man. And also the shot where Hardigan shoots himself in the head at the end is basically very different from the one that actually is in the actual book itself. The scene is actually from A Dame to Kill For, which is the second movie.
Right.
So, yeah. That's pretty much all my facts for Sin City.
Two of the quick things to point out. It has one of the most brutal murders in film when he kills Yellow Bastard. Because he beats his head into mush with his bare hands. But one of the things that people noticed in this film in particular that's different, it was one of those innovative things that Frank Miller did. The blood, with the exception of Yellow Bastard, when it's yellow, it's white. And so that was one of the hardest things for them to figure out how are we going to do it. Because normally movie blood or something, it's corn syrup, number 5 dye or whatever it is for red, and that's the way it goes. You could pick it up any makeup shop in town. What they ended up doing to be able to get there was they used a process with black lights and a fluorescent red, and then they just swapped it over in post. Since again it was mostly green screen stuff, and even the practicals had green screen surrounding it, it made it a lot easier, and that's how they were able to achieve that effect.
Yeah. That's all I got for Sin City. You?
That's it, man. Like I said, you're catching most of mine, so I guess we're going right along.
Yeah, we're at the last one.
With some Die Hard. I got a lot of Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Me too. Right. Die Hard with a Vengeance, our last movie of the Bruce Willis collection.
And you know what? Appropriately so.
And we both agree it's actually, of the sequels that they've created for Die Hard, is the best one. Hands down.
I honestly, look, I love Die Hard, but I might like Die Hard with a Vengeance better.
It's such a good movie, though.
And part of the reason is, I think it's because it originally was written as a standalone, and they just turned around and rewrote it to work for Die Hard when it got picked up.
Yeah.
It was originally going to be called Simon Says.
Yes.
So everything you see was the same, just it wasn't John McClane.
Plus, I like the fact that it's not the whole storyline with the wife holding him down. I mean, they mention it, but it's not like holding him down as much as it is in the first one.
And they pepper it in a little bit here and there. It's like, yeah, it's still John McClane. Yeah, that's where his wife's
It's
at.
more of a day of him as being a cop. You know what I'm saying? What it's really like for him in New York.
Well, and it adds a nice level to his character arc and everything, that they drag him out of a bar when he's just like shit-faced drunk.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because he's upset with his wife. Although, if you follow the chronology of it, when he was just a detective, at this point, he should have been promoted twice.
Yes, he should have.
So even that one, he would have been promoted twice. So it's like going, okay, so even though he's an alcoholic or whatever, that backlog of scumbags in New York that he mentions in the second one, he's been making good on that promise.
Yeah, true. This is unique of the Die Hard movies because of the fact that this is the only Die Hard movie to be set actually in New York.
Yep.
And in all the movies, pretty much with the exception of Die Hard 2, pretty much all the movies he refers to himself as a New York cop. And he's based in New York, except for 2, he was based in L.A. because he moved out.
He was trying to make it work with his wife.
Yeah, which didn't work out, obviously.
That's why I went back to New York.
but it's the only one that's actually set in New York. And one thing that I did like about this, like, he was the one that suggested Sam Jackson for the movie, and Sam himself was thrilled because of the fact he had seen the first Die Hard at least 30 times.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, yeah. So, yes, and plus Sam is just a fucking fantastic goddamn actor. So.
100%.
Yeah, man. And that chemistry. Talking about chemistry again, that chemistry between those two is just infectious, bro. You just like every time you see them together in a movie, it works. No matter what the roles are, good guy, bad guy, buddies, not buddies, it just works with them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and actually, they were saying the racial arguments and the interaction the two of them have. It's loosely based on Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier
in the Defiant
ones,
yeah.
which actually kind of makes, and again, because like you've got the character Zeus coming at it with this kind of angry, for lack of a better term, like angry black man, kind of Malcolm X kind of thing.
Damn right.
And Bruce Willis isn't willing to give an inch. He's like, dude, I'm not trying to fuck with you. I'm not trying to oppress you.
No.
We just got to work together on this thing. And then the two of them eventually start to warm to each other. And especially how it's a fantastic bit of chemistry that you get between the two of those guys.
I do love the shit with it in the parking lot. You say it. You better call me the N-word, would you? No. What you gonna call me? Asshole. How about that? Yeah. I've actually had that argument with somebody before. Because I was at one point I was accused of being like racist towards white people, or whatever, and then like freaking like you don't like me because you're white. I don't like you because you're an asshole.
I don't like you because you're gonna get me killed.
No. But to this person I told it to, like, I don't like you because you're an asshole.
Well, we can get to that story another time. I had a very similar one.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't that. It was basically they had fucked up teeth. It was a girl. Anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah, you Yeah. All right. So at one point during the movie, McClane has a statement: "Cheer up, things could be worse. I was working on a nice fast suspension, smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo," which is a throwback to fucking Pulp Fiction when he's singing that "Hunt the flowers on the wall, that don't bother me at all." Every time I watch that movie, I remember that song: "Playing solitaire till dawn with the deck of 51, smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo." Yeah, because it's so weird.
It is so weird.
Yeah, but that's a quote from Pulp Fiction. He brought it to Die Hard with a Vengeance. Now, one real life thing that actually happened very close to the release of this movie was the April 1995 Oklahoma City bombing.
Yep, and they still went.
And the vast majority of this movie is based,
chasing a bomber.
A bomber, yeah, in New York. Now, during the press conference promoting this movie, he actually told promoters do not discuss that particular incident because of the fact he does not want to trivialize this tragedy by comparing it to a goddamn movie.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the movie, okay?
Yeah.
I can see that. So,
well, do you know who they originally were looking at for Zeus when they wrote it?
I think it's like Larry Fishburne.
Brandon Lee.
Really?
Yep. It was originally wasn't going to be a black guy from Harlem. It was going to be a Chinese guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. Brandon Lee.
Life happens.
Yes, it does. Now, one of the more famous scenes in this movie, the sandwich board scene in Harlem, the actual board itself in Harlem was blank. It has, I think, if you see the behind the scenes thing, I think it has some prompting on it, some CGI prompting on it, and it doesn't say the racial thing on it. In TV,
they're not suicidal.
Exactly. in the TV, the alternative version, it says "I hate everybody" as opposed to the "I hate" N words and shit.
Yeah.
So there you go. I give him that. And also during the driving scene when they're driving all around New York or whatever, and John McTiernan, who came back from the first one, directed this one. Mm-hmm. He said it's very dangerous to have an actor drive a car. Accidents happen. So what they did is just like in most movies, they had a stuntman drive the actual cab from behind while Bruce Willis is in front pretending to drive and shit. So it's very kinetic, but that's how they did it.
Yeah.
And also another thing from John McTiernan, they kept saying that hundreds of girls were hanging out of their windows to get a look at Bruce Willis. Yeah.
Well, so one of the things that's kind of crazy because there's a lot of time in this film where they're looking at trying to trace phone calls, stuff like that. In fact, they've even got a joke. It was like something like, "Oh, having fun with the phone companies or whatever." That's actually a Hollywood movie trope. The law enforcement's been able to pretty much instantaneously track calls since the mid '80s, which is kind of a funny thing that I found out. And then one of the other kind of cool ones people don't know is they actually several scenes, some of the downtown Wall Street things like that, where they actually had large contingents of police. They actually used some real NYPD officers.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and also another throwback to Die Hard. At the end, where the confrontation between Simon and McClane, it's the helicopter thing, is very similar to his confrontation with Hans. When he goes to confront the bad guy, he only has 2 bullets left.
Yep.
In both scenes. And of course, he still takes care of both the villains with just them damn 2 bullets.
Hey man, you're dropping an electric line into the rotors. It's going to be a problem.
Don't do it. My favorite scene of that movie is when you find out the connection between the 2 villains.
Yeah, that's a good moment.
Yeah, where they're in the FBI thing and
in the back of the van with the FBI and the CIA.
The FBI is asking them all this shit. Do you know this person? You do this? No. Okay, this is a real nice report, fellas.
What does this got to do with me?
Does the name Gruber mean anything to you, detective? And then that one little moment of recognition, you see the famous scene of Hans falling. Yeah, it rings a bell. L.A. The thing in L.A. Peter Krieg was born Simon Peter Gruber. He's Hans Gruber's brother. And just the old shit looking Bruce Willis' face. Oh, fuck. Yep, it's a thing in L.A. So we figured he has you fitted for a toe tag. He's going to do anything to get it tied. Yeah, I like the tongue twisting type dialogue or whatever. Yeah, and then he knows the whole time, and it's just such a really good still.
Well, then even Sam Jackson's "You mean I'm in this because some white asshole threw some other asshole's brother off a building?"
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
basically, yeah. But I like the little scene where they tied it to the bomb. I thought you didn't even like your brother. Not liking your brother is one thing, and not carrying some Irish flatfoot throws him off a building or something else altogether.
Okay, so do you know how long it took him to write this?
No.
11 days. Wrote this thing in 11 days.
And it's a great movie.
And the writer was saying he went and picked up every nursery book he could find so he could work some of that stuff in. For all the little...
Sister Simon wrote the Pipeman, you know, that shit.
All that shit, exactly. Well, and then, so... The St. Ives, you remember that one, right? As I was going to St. Ives.
Yeah, Man of 7 Wives, yeah.
So apparently that riddle is actually similar to one from 1650 BC that they found on a papyrus scroll.
Wow.
So it's kind of weird. It's kind of got that old throwback. Mm-hmm. And then the one that everybody loves is the math problem where you have to get 4 gallons into the 5-gallon jug.
Oh, that shit.
Did you ever sit down and try to do that?
No, but
I remember trying to do that multiple times.
Yeah.
And I remember figuring out one point, it's like, okay, I get how we get there, but I couldn't describe it to save my life.
So you fill this up with water, you just want to get in 4 gallons, yeah.
They just totally gloss over it, and so the audience is left sitting there going, shit, now I got a word problem in my head for the next week.
Is that how they do it? Yeah. And also this movie was the highest grossing movie worldwide of 1995.
No.
Yeah.
So that Bonwit Teller, however you say it, the first building that blows up,
yeah,
that actually had been vacant for a couple of years, been closed,
yeah,
which is the only reason they were able to blow it up.
Nice.
So they really blew it up, but it's because there's like nobody in there. They just blew out the front of the windows and had a nice little opening sequence there.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, it's always good when you can do practicals instead of models.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's all I got for Die Hard.
Well, I got a couple more.
Go for it.
Okay, so they shot it mostly in New York, but they actually did shoot some of the outdoor sequences down in South Carolina on Johns Island. Also, the bridge sequence is over the Copper River, just outside of Charleston. Mm-hmm. And then when they were in Canada at the end sequence, that was actually Baltimore.
Yeah, and then they didn't realize till after they completed the movie that they didn't have Yippee-Ki-Yay motherfucker. I remember that part.
So they had the ADR.
Yeah, and then they had the one. Did you see the deleted scene, which was the actual ending?
No, I missed that.
So the actual ending was that Simon and his cohorts get away. Okay, and John is actually apparently like, I think he's fired from his job, some shit like that or whatever, and he actually comes to find Simon in like Germany, and like he's like in some office, and you see Bruce Willis coming in there. He's like in a trench coat, and it's weird. They have this little conversation, and then he kills him and shit, like almost in cold blood. But it was very John McClane, yeah, because in fact it's like, you know, almost like a James Bond scene as opposed to a John McClane scene. And also, again, they didn't realize they had the Yippee-Ki-Yay motherfucker, so that was actually on the stage. They put the proper lighting on him, got the makeup on him, and just Yippee-Ki-Yay motherfucker. That's all they needed. So
well, and when that so again, talking with the way they made this, when they have the subway blow up, right?
Yeah.
So they set that up. They actually got real cars and everything, and they outfitted them with Chevy V8 engines. And when you see the stuntmen running for their lives, all the stunt performers, those cars were coming at them at 45 miles an hour. Yeah. So they were really running like legit for their lives. Jesus. And then one of the other kind of fun little factoids, right? Because we went off the gold standard, like 1970, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, we have 261.7 million ounces of gold in the U.S. reserves. Mm-hmm. So as far as a heist movie goes, they definitely picked the right place to go to. Wow. The last thing I'll throw in on the stunt side is absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. Sam Jackson actually broke a tooth and split his lip when a wire fell and hit him in the face. Ugh. And his response, how it was pretty classic, was like, well, I guess I'm doing an action movie now. Yeah. So you got to look at it. I mean, look, he was positive about it. I never heard about a lawsuit on that one, so maybe they just took care of him up front.
Well, you hear a lot of stories about actors getting bruised up and all this shit and doing movies.
Especially if they do their own stunts, which you got to appreciate with them.
You hear that all the time with Stallone movies. Apparently, he broke his fucking neck in
Expendables. Yeah, and, when Steve Austin slams him against the wall.
And fucking the whole thing with the heart in fucking Rocky IV, where he like got punched in the chest and his heart enlarged. Yeah. You know, like, Jesus Christ, Stallone is a fucking nut, bro. Yeah. And like, I love Steve Austin talks about this shit in the interviews. Like, yeah, Stallone's for real, bro.
He kept pushing him too. He's like, no, you got to do this. You got to do this harder. Like, it needs to sell.
Yeah, exactly. So, fucking Stallone is a beast. Plus, on top of that, he was writing, directing, producing, and starring.
Yeah. And look, say what you want about Expendables, storyline or whatever. Mm-hmm. It is action movie porn. It's just basically explosions and guns and craziness and fantastic.
All the action movie stars of one particular time frame or whatever, all put together.
Well, between all of them, he's got all the action stars. By the time you get done with Expendables 3, everyone who's an action star has been in one of his movies for the most part. Yeah, I think maybe just The Rock's missing, right?
And then like there's one rumor that they were doing another Expendables and they're gonna bring back Hulk Hogan and Mr. T.
They should get The Rock in there.
And The Rock,
finish it off.
And The Rock, just put
Make
them
sure we
all-
got everybody.
And Jason Statham's been in there. Everybody, yeah.
So the last weird note to put in, John McTiernan.
Yes.
You're familiar with all of the offset antics with him, correct?
Some of them, yeah.
So he got tied in with a private detective, private investigator. I can't remember the guy's name. He ended up going to prison for a little bit. Long and short of it is, after about, I think it was around an 8-year legal battle back and forth, he ended up getting sentenced to a year in federal prison because he'd been hiring this guy to illegally wiretap people.
Wow, I didn't know that.
One was he was spying on his ex-wife, and the other one was he was spying on a producer that he was upset about a project they were working on together, and was trying to get some dirt so he could essentially blackmail him to either get out of the project or do the project his way. He served almost his entire year sentence, and then they put him on house arrest for the last about month and a half, if I remember correct. And then I think he had to do like another 4 or 5 years probation afterwards. But he got to do his house arrest when he got out at his ranch in Wyoming. And apparently it was a nice cushy white collar federal prison in was either North or South Dakota.
Oh.
They apparently Forbes put on like it's like number 8 for its cushiest prison in the world or something like that.
There's a list of cushiest
That's
prisons.
what they were saying. So it's an interesting one. I mean, he's an intense dude.
Yes,
Any way
he
you
is.
slice it.
Well, like I said, we've basically gone through the whole gambit of Mr. Bruce Willis. His filmography includes over 60 films, many box office successes, a lot of them that we didn't even mention.
Yep.
Death Becomes Her, 12 Monkeys, which we talked about
Fantastic.
a couple times. Armageddon, Unbreakable, Red, Moonrise Kingdom, The Expendables movies, Looper. And then if you go to like his box office receipts, he's grossed over $2.64 billion, between $2.64 billion to $3.5 billion in the North American box office, making him the 9th highest grossing actor of all time.
Does that include Ocean's 12?
I believe so. Yeah. He is a 2-time Emmy winner, 2-time Golden Globe winner, and a 4-time Saturn nominated actor.
What's ridiculous is he's never been nominated for Oscar.
No, he has not.
He should.
He should have. Yeah. I thought he wasn't nominated for Sixth Sense?
Nope.
That's crazy.
Sixth Sense was nominated for Best Picture.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, but yeah, he has so many different credits for like. If you look at some of his TV show credits, it's crazy. Like Moonlighting, of course, but he's done like Miami Vice, The Twilight Zone when they did the revival in '85. He actually had a cartoon at one point.
Really? What was the cartoon?
Bruno the Kid.
Huh.
Cause that's his like nickname, Bruno.
You know, if I remember correctly, too, I believe his agent actually left the agency and joined him to start his production company, and at that point, he just stopped having an agent.
Yeah.
You just talk to the head of his production company, and that's the nice thing. You get to that certain level.
Fuck yeah, Bill Murray. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Bill Murray's the best. That 1-800 number.
Yeah.
We could talk about that at some point. Sophia Coppola. I don't know how many 100 times she called him and left him a message.
Exactly. But on top of that, he's also hosted SNL twice, 1989 and 2013. He did an episode of That 70s Show. He did Ally McBeal, Friends, of course. He did Mad About You. He did an episode of Roseanne. And he also did The Orville. He did an episode most recently. He did The Orville for Seth MacFarlane. And he's in different music. He's in the music video.
My sister loves that show.
He's in the music video "Stylo" by Gorillaz. Just another cameo part. And like so many other like different movies he's done, like we haven't even touched, man. Like fucking all the different other Die Hard movies.
You know what? Of the ones after that, which one's your favorite?
Okay, my favorite after Die Hard with a Vengeance. You're gonna think I'm crazy about this, but Live Free or Die Hard. That's
what I was gonna say.
Live Free or Die Hard is my third favorite Die Hard movie.
What I like about it, I really like Justin Long's character. I like kind of the way that whole thing progresses. It's it's over the top with him like jumping the motorcycle into the jet and a couple things like that. But
or driving the car into the helicopter.
But it's not as crazy as it is with his son in the one after that.
Oh god!
And actually, ridiculous. I have to say, some people might not agree with me on this. I actually liked Kevin Smith's cameo.
Yeah, I like Kevin Smith and Live Free or Die Hard.
I kind of figured that's what Kevin Smith would be like in real life.
Yeah, actually, funny enough, they did a movie together after that. Cop Out. He said it's one of the worst. He said it's one of the worst acting experiences he's ever had. Like because him and Kevin Smith did not get along.
Do you know what Kevin Smith said? Because I heard Kevin Smith talk about. I actually really like that movie. It's him and Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, right.
It's great, but Kevin Smith was talking about still making mistakes as a director. Because he's been doing it a long time. Anybody pays attention to his stuff, they know. Yeah. So. He said he's directing Bruce Willis, and he does whatever he does, he doesn't like it, and so he tells him, he's like, do that Bruce Willis thing, like blah blah blah, and Bruce Willis looks at him and he's like, sorry, do the what? He's like, oh shit, yeah.
The same thing from Bruce Willis's end. He because Kevin Smith apparently was just smoking weed all day on the set and shit, and he didn't.
That sounds about right.
He didn't think that was professional, so.
Yeah, I mean, but that's Hollywood.
Particularly this one. But same thing with that, man. Fucking Bruce Willis and so many different things, man. Like he's just been one of those dope actors. Like just one of those actors that's been around your entire life of our lifespan. He's been around forever, man.
Did you watch Death Wish?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think? I haven't seen that yet. I mean, I like the original.
It's an okay action movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an okay action movie. Like the original is a fucking masterpiece.
Dude,
this one is just it's an okay action movie.
Okay. I mean, the concept's killer.
Yeah, the whole whole dad who's helpless to stop an assault and his wife's death and shit and becomes a vigilante.
Yeah, because he can't get justice.
Exactly. So he takes justice in his own hands. That's a common theme in a lot of movies, man. But yeah, I do love the Charles Bronson original version better.
Yeah.
So, but as far as like my favorite outside of the movies we've listed or whatever, like I said, we had a top 10 list. Again, it has to go to Unbreakable. I did not like Glass, unfortunately.
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I hate to hear that.
I'm sorry, M. Night fucked that up, man. Like the ending. Like I was with it up until the ending. The ending really screws it up.
So, well, I mean, that's the thing. Like we talk about this before when you get into like Star Wars or something like that. You can't always hold that tight when you create a world like that. Sometimes it's actually better for you to move to a producerial role. Because you look at Star Wars, right? Like the best Star Wars, hands down, at least to the original, is going to go back to Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. And then even of the reboot, it's Rogue One.
Yes.
Right? And again, that's because, Lucas finally released his grip.
Yeah.
Let some new blood come in, take in a different direction. And, it's hard to know when to do that and when not to do it, especially if you're the creator of that whole universe.
And he's only directed one. Bruce Willis has only directed one movie, Hudson Hawk, and that did nothing. A lot
of actors find that. In fact, I remember Tom was telling us. I can't remember the name of the film. There's a film that Dan Aykroyd directed.
Nothing But Trouble.
Yeah, it was right after. If I remember correctly, it was right after, or a little bit after he'd done.
That movie is so fucking weird.
Well, so anyway, it was right after. I can't remember why is it leaving my brain. The one with him and Tom Hanks, Dragnet. It was right after Dragnet.
Yeah.
And so he'd come back and was talking to Tom about it, and he said he would never do it again. And the more he got to talking to him, he said one of the biggest mistakes he made, because again, he's coming out from the actor's standpoint. Everybody on set got a setup where they could actually watch video tap. So everybody's watching. So it became one of those things where you literally had too many cooks in the kitchen, and then learning it. You have very few Mel Gibsons that can learn the craft from the inside out like that and make that transition and do really well. They make movies that go on to do well, make a lot of money. Yeah. It's a whole different skill set. Yeah,
and then Dan Aykroyd is playing this like almost entire grotesque family. It's him and John Candy, and it's so weird. And actually, he plays this grotesque judge in this like fucked up town that he owns and shit. And then John Candy plays an officer and his daughter too. It's weird. And it's Chevy Chase and Demi Moore, and it's just the most famous thing from that movie is the song from the soundtrack. The all around the world, same song. Dun, 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 dun. That's the most famous thing of the movie. And then because of the fact it's Digital Underground with Tupac. Yeah. So
it was a weird one.
It was a very weird one, man. Like, what's the other directors, other actors who tried to do directing? Like I said, I think Eddie Murphy should do another director movie, because Harlem Nights,
you know what,
Harlem Nights was a good movie.
It was unfair the way people treated him with Harlem Nights.
Yeah, it was a really good movie.
It was a solid movie, and look, here's the thing. Even if you didn't like it, if it wasn't a top 10 for you, the one thing you got to remember, even if it's not a top 100, you got to remember in that one, it's an important film because it's the only film that you can point to that has 3 generations of the most important stand-up comedians to have ever lived doing comedy together. Between Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and Eddie, that alone makes it a standout film.
True.
In fact, it's one of the few films I actually have a lithograph from.
Yeah.
It's the 3 of them, and they're standing there in their zoot suits and everything.
Yeah.
Dude, it's worth a watch.
Okay.
Absolutely worth it.
Now, we've had the nuts and potatoes of this podcast. We talked about Mr. Bruce Willis for a good period of time. Is this one of our longer ones, or?
I mean, we're in the ballpark. It's not going to be our longest, but it was good.
Good. Now, our next show, which we discussed earlier, we're gonna focus on directors. Now, I've got a couple choices off the top of my head. I want to see if you get some choices. So, what we're gonna do again, if you go to the Belsaverse and Dropping That Culture Facebook pages, we're gonna have a poll up, and you guys can go in there and vote as to what our next podcast is going to be about. I have a couple choices right now off the top of my head. Definitely want to see if we can get Tarantino and John Landis.
Okay.
And John Carpenter. Those are the top 3 that came to my head. What about you?
I'd actually like to throw in, just to kind of make it a little weirder, let's throw in Barry Levinson.
Okay.
Because actually we probably won't get there, but if we could get there with Wag the Dog,
Oh, yeah.
that actually is one of the ones that drove me to the side of the business that I want to be in.
Yeah.
And then I think we should throw in Terry Gilliam, just because he makes the weirdest fucking movies out of anybody that I can think of.
Did he do Brazil too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's all over the place. And his stuff, and the ill-fated Man of La Mancha.
Right.
Or Man from La Mancha. I can't remember what the end of called, but that was the...
that was him too.
Yeah. And again, I think the book they wrote about it was The Devil's Candy. Great book about a movie that couldn't get made. That all kinds of absolute crazy
so Tarantino,
stuff.
Landis, Carpenter, Levinson, and Terry Gilliam. Let's do one more just to round it out. Burton?
Sure. Yeah, Burton's a good one.
Tim Burton. All right, cool. So we got 6 directors to choose from. We're going to put the poll up. I'm probably going to put it up tonight after we do this. And
which means by the time you hear it, it'll already be there.
Exactly. So go on there, vote, and that'll be our next show. But we really hope you've enjoyed this show, despite all the goddamn dogs barking.
Well, the dogs are just celebrating. They're cheering for us.
All right, folks. This has been Dropping That Culture with JD and AJ. I'm JD.
And I'm AJ.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Dropping that culture. 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 Dropping that culture.